bit of a bogey circuit when it comes to non-finishes too. So Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel are lined up together on the front row of the grid. Mark Webber is on the second row with Kimi Räikkönen alongside, starting in 4th for Lotus. His teammate Romain Grosjean is 5th. Daniel Ricciardo, another great effort from the Australian, in 6th position. Felipe Massa 7th and Fernando Alonso 8th on the harder compound tyre, the medium tyre. Then Jenson Button, we're expecting him to be starting on that tyre as well, and Nico Hülkenberg for Sauber in the top 10 for only the second time this year. Rosberg is back in 11th, Paul di Resta is 12th, but he's been in the points consistently this year. Perez is 13th for McLaren, Gutierrez is 14th in his Sauber. Then we see Adrian Sutil, he had DRS problems in qualifying. Jean-Eric Vergne struggled a bit, he ended up 16th on the grid. The two Williams, as the team celebrates the 600th Grand Prix, are 17th and 18th on the grid. Then Jules Bianchi for Marussia and Guido van der Garde for Caterham. And then as we get to the back of the grid, it's Max Chilton in the other Marussia, and one penalty on the grid, and that is for Charles Pic, a change of gearbox, so that has dropped him back behind the other young team's cars. Well, Daniel Ricciardo there, starting in 6th place. Again, David, another opportunity to show what he can do here today.
Yeah, he's certainly putting himself in pole position, I would say, for replacing Mark Webber at the end of the year. Kimi Räikkönen, well, a world champion, certainly has got great consistency and delivers serious points, but to sort of make that young driver program work for Toro Rosso, then someone eventually, other than Sebastian, the man we're looking at there, needs to go from Toro Rosso into Red Bull Racing.
Yes, that's right. Sebastian Vettel is the best of all of those, but there is Lewis Hamilton, our pole winner then, 3rd pole of this season, and at the 6th Mercedes pole position of 2013. Very impressive when you think back the last few years where they've struggled a little bit. There on the remains of the Nürburg Castle, a fantastic vantage point as they look down over the circuit, over the old circuit as well, the Nordschleife, through the trees, the circuit that was termed a green hell by Jackie Stewart. Well, the modern circuit is somewhat different to that. It's a much more standard kind of Grand Prix track, but it's become a fun part of the whole calendar now for many of the drivers, and it's just lovely to see so many fans here to soak up the atmosphere and enjoy what could possibly be a German victory. Maybe Sebastian Vettel's going to win at home for the first time, but don't discount Rosberg completely, even though he's starting from 11th. But it is going to be tough to beat Lewis Hamilton. He starts on pole position, and of course don't discount Mark Webber, Kimi Räikkönen from the 2nd row of the grid. We're just looking at which tyres some of the teams are using as expected. Button's going to be coming out on a set of the medium compound tyres, a brand new set. Hülkenberg's on medium tyres as well. So different strategies of this race are really going to make for a very, very exciting outcome, which won't really be decided until we get to the very end and the checkered flag. Six cars at the front of the grid are starting on the soft tyre here. The two Ferraris are the faster those on the medium compound tyre in 7th and 8th. The field eases away on the formation lap at the Nürburgring. But Gary, what is the ideal scenario for Ferrari in the early laps to make their strategy work?
All they need, these guys are on the soft tyres at the front, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Mark Webber, etc., to really run into this graining stage. When the front tyre starts graining, it's very, very difficult. You just have to slow down because you have no front grip. And, you know, at the end of the day, if they slow down enough, the pack will get together again. When they pit, Alonso wants to be leading the race, so by lap 10, if he's leading the race, he's got a good chance to win it.
Alternatively, for Hamilton and for Vettel, they're starting on the soft tyre. What are they looking for? Do they just need to steam into the distance, or what?
Yeah, they just need to steam into the distance. They need to drive the car right now as fast as possible, and when the tyre starts to drop off, pit then. Don't back it up, because you're just losing time. You know, that's the thing that will pull it together, but they need to react very, very quickly.
And presumably, whichever of the teammates gets to stop first in the case of Red Bull, that could be quite an advantage, whether it's Vettel or Webber.
Yes, it is, and I mean, it's how this unfolds. I mean, this first corner complex, turn 1, 2, 3, it really is very, very tight down there, and, you know, they've really got to look after that and get through that corner. Yeah,
well, there's a massive support, of course, for Sebastian. He is the World Championship leader by 21 points, and Red Bull Racing are leading in the Constructors' points, but Mercedes now ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' table. Of course, Rosberg not as far up the grid as they were hoping and expecting. He should have been in the battle for pole position, but they miscalculated the cut-off time, and Rosberg therefore starting down in 11th. And David, there's quite a lot of confidence at Lotus as well. Kimi Räikkönen may never have won here, but the car is looking quick
and consistent, and that's the thing that really marks out Kimi's second career in Formula One. He's been able to deliver very strong race pace. He's only been able to get the one victory at the beginning of the year, but I think that he'll certainly be one to watch this afternoon. And I think that, as Gary mentioned there, once we get the first round of pit stops, which will definitely be before the lap 10, then we're going to find ourselves with the Ferraris and Hulkenberg and Rosberg and Button. Those guys will take up the lead of this Grand Prix and try and see how far they can go on the medium tyre.
I'm quite intrigued. Let's listen to Webber.
Okay, Mark, at the start, if you get wheel slip, hold the throttle.
Final instructions there. I'm intrigued that some of the drivers like Paul di Resta, for example, Sergio Perez, are using soft compound tyres going into the start of this race. We sort of expected a lot of the guys further down the order to start on the harder compound tyre, but interestingly, not as many as expected. We've got 5 in the top 10, or 4 doing it in the top 10, and then we've got di Resta on the soft tyres, as I say, and the 2 Williams drivers, they're on the medium compound tyre. So now everybody building up to the start of this Grand Prix, out of the final turn, just cleaning up those tyres for the final time. Remember, it's Hamilton on pole, Vettel on the front row with him. Then it's Webber and Raikkonen on row 2. Grosjean, good starting position for Grosjean, best grid of the year. Ricciardo is 6th, then Massa and Alonso. Button is 9th, Hulkenberg 10th, then Rosberg, of course, in 11th, hoping to make the strategy work as well. He's also on the medium tyre. Di Resta is 12th, then Perez, Gutierrez, Sutil, a bit further back than expected, then Verne, Bottas and Maldonado, desperate to get points for Williams. Can they do it in their 600th Grand Prix weekend? And then down towards the back, the likes of Bianchi, Van der Garde, Chilton and Charles Pic, who lines up right at the rear of the field. All set to go then in Germany. Lights out, away we go, and Hamilton gets away, but Vettel makes a good start as well, and cutting across goes Hamilton, but Vettel's got the inside line. Now watch Webber. Webber's on the outside. Webber challenging his teammate, and meanwhile behind Kimi Raikkonen's had a pretty good getaway, but Vettel it is who makes the initial start. Good start indeed, and Hamilton from pole position has been squeezed down to 3rd, and he's got Kimi Raikkonen now in his wheel tracks as Grosjean goes round the outside and goes very wide and is under pressure from Massa. Alonso's not got away particularly well here.
Well, it's unusual for the Ferrari, but certainly great starts there from both the Red Bulls as the field now starts to string out. The danger zone for contacts is really in those first 4 corners, and Grosjean trying to be a little bit brave around the outside and his teammate Raikkonen, but they've lined up the 2 Lotuses in there behind the Mercedes of Hamilton. And as Gary mentioned, these guys at the front have got to just take everything they can out of these soft tyres.
Jean-Eric Verne going side by side there with Guido van der Garde. Bad getaway, I think, there for Jean-Eric Verne. Rosberg, by the way, didn't really manage to gain many places. In fact, he's lost one. He's down to 12th behind Hulkenberg. Perez has gained a few as we've got somebody running a little bit wide, as we see Gutierrez, I think, under pressure there from the Williams right behind him of Malda. But it is Vettel who leads. Webber second, then Hamilton. Raikkonen chasing. Grosjean, then Massa, and then ahead of Alonso is Ricciardo in the Toro Rosso. So that's not really what Alonso needed. Button is running 9th, and Perez, with that good start, has got himself in the top 10.
Well, that's exactly what Massa needed to do, and get past the Toro Rosso early. Alonso's going to have a bit more difficulty now, as inevitably the tyres go off on that Toro Rosso. And as they cross the line for the first time, Webber will be focused on trying to keep himself within 1 second of his teammate, and at the end of lap 2, of course, he'll be in the DRS zone as a pass here. Perez on Button.
Yes, for the 2 McLarens going side by side once again. Perez on the inside, and he squeezes past Button, and that was a good aggressive manoeuvre. And the Force India's behind, also having a tussle. Sutil and Di Resta, we'll keep an eye on that to see if there's been any change, but Perez has definitely got past Jenson Button. There he is, Sergio Perez, and the Mexican looking feisty once again on the opening lap, on the 2nd lap here. Chasing down Alonso.
Indeed, he's on the softer tyre. That's well over a second a lap faster than the tyre that Jenson Button's running on at this stage. So no big surprise that over the next few laps, Perez will be able to make some performance gains, and then inevitably he'll have to pit early, and then Jenson will be hoping to stay out there for, well, the tyre life on the medium tyre is over 30 laps, but whether they'd look to do anywhere near as much as that in this phase of the race when they've got so much fuel on board, Ben, I would be surprised.
Di Resta is running ahead of his teammate Sutil. They're running down in 13th, 14th places at the moment. But up front it is Sebastian Vettel who leads this race from his teammate Mark Webber. Lewis Hamilton holding on in there in 3rd place for Mercedes, but certainly not the ideal first lap for him. There you are, 2 Red Bulls, then the Mercedes. The 2 Lotus cars of Raikkonen and Grosjean, followed by Massa, Ricciardo and Alonso. There's Perez, followed by Jenson Button. He's being chased by Nico Hulkenberg and then Nico Rosberg, the 2 Nicos. And then you've got Paul di Resta just ahead of Adrian Sutil. So Sutil gained on the first lap, di Resta lost. There was quite a gap between them on the grid, but actually they've ended up virtually together as they come across the line. Vettel a 1:38.0 on that lap, certainly faster than anyone chasing him. And as the rest of them come across the line, di Resta 13th, then Sutil, then behind them Maldonado and Gutierrez.
Well, here we see the getaway. It didn't look like a particularly bad start initially from Lewis Hamilton, but when they get into the phase of releasing KERS, give him an extra 80 horsepower, it's just that point where they had an issue engaging it or not. He just got swamped by the Red Bulls. Let's keep an eye on Grosjean. It's on the outside of the Ferrari there, looks for the opportunity around the outside into turn 3 on his teammate, and then, well, a bit of room to play with, gets away with it. Other than that, it's a clean start. Normally we see some sort of wing damaging contact. Let's listen. Just at the last part of the getaway, you could hear that sort of juddering. That's the tyre. It's not doing a full wheel spin. It's actually judders on the surface of the road, and that's the point where Lewis struggled. So I can't tell from that graphic whether it was at the point of engaging KERS, but it's a nice side shot from Webber. Look at that, almost absolutely line astern as they go across, and then gets very tight. Mark actually marginally ahead as they go into the apex, but wisely leaves space for his teammate. So they definitely have benefited from that different procedure, Ben. We heard him confirming that he had done 3 practice starts, both him and Seb, on the way to the grid. And wow, Alonso having to be very evasive there with Daniel Ricciardo and the Toro Rosso, but cat-like reactions from the Spaniard.
Yes, that's right. Well, remember, Webber dropped down to 15th on the opening lap at Silverstone, combined with a bit of accident damage with Grosjean, but it's a much, much better start, and Webber's just gone faster than Vettel on that lap.
There's a spinner in the background. That was contact, I believe, from, is that, well, I'm not even going to guess.
Oh, it's Massa. Massa spun down at turn 1. As you say, there might have been another car involved with that. He was running 6th, he was behind.
Stalled, I believe. Sorry, Ben, he stalled, so whether they'll need to put a safety car to remove that car or not, well, if they do, you'll see all of the soft runners will just be heading straight for the pit.
And Rob Smedley looks very upset about it, and I'll tell you what, it ends a record for Massa. He has finished all 14 races he's raced in Germany, and yet he has become the first non-finisher by the looks of things here in the German Grand Prix of 2013, and his good record here has come to a conclusion. He is having a bit of a tough time. Better race, or better qualifying last time out. Let's just take a look here at what happened. Oh, well, I don't think there was contact, was there?
No, not at all. It looked like the car, whether he had oversteer initially as he started to turn right, and then he's sort of pendulumed round and then had that unusual spin to the left. That could be a KERS harvesting situation, you know, where they actually use the wasted energy through the braking phase to store the power into the batteries, and that's something the drivers have to constantly change and evolve as they go through different phases of the race. You know, at this stage of the race, they're running several seconds a lap slower than qualifying because they just have so much fuel on board, and 10 kilograms of fuel costs you about 3.5 tenths of a second per lap.
Well, you can see the yellow flags as the cars recovered, so no DRS clearly at that section of circuit. No overtaking is allowed. Fastest lap goes back to Vettel. Now, this is the stage where you want to see if the lap times from the leaders starts to drop away. We're on to lap 5, and we're expecting this soft tyre to start giving up. Paul di Resta has come into the pit straight away then, so it's an early pit stop. And also one of the, and he almost clips the Toro Rosso of Jean-Eric Verne there as he comes back out. Also saw the Caterham of Charles Pic making a pit stop.
Well, Mark Webber, a couple of tenths or so quicker in that first sector, so he's certainly trying to maintain that gap to his teammate. As I said, if he can get it into under a second, he'll get the DRS. That'll give him, well, almost up to about 20 kilometers an hour in top speed, so hugely beneficial.
Let's take another look at this release, David.
Well, the Force India, Paul reacts, and the Toro Rosso had to slow down. So certainly the stewards will have a little look at that to see and determine whether it was an unsafe release or not.
Well, Vettel continues to lead, but the sector times are now just beginning to drop off a tiny bit. Not a huge amount yet, but DRS is enabled once again, so they will be able to use it as they come down start finish. He stays out for another lap, so they don't feel as though the tyre performance has gone just yet on the Red Bulls. They're looking after their tyres quite well, and I think Hamilton is staying out as well. Yes, he is in third, so none of these lead group on their soft tyres are yet coming into the pits, but they are building up their advantage. Ricciardo, who's running sixth now, is 4.2 seconds behind. No, in fact, he's not anymore. Alonso's got past. So where's Ricciardo? He's come in. Ricciardo has come into the pit. So he is the first of the front runners on the soft tyre to come in and change for the medium compound tyre, and there he is.
That's done the Ferrari a favour. He doesn't have to worry about running in his dirty air. Unsurprisingly, puts the medium tyre, the prime tyre that's available this afternoon.
So, how are those split times looking for the Red Bulls up front at the moment? 32.2, still in the ballpark, about 4/10 off the fastest that we've seen through that first sector. So that tyre performance is definitely beginning to go away a little bit. Now, which, presumably, it'll be Vettel gets first choice, David, as he is the leader of the two cars. Just seeing the incident involving Vernon Di Resta.
Much quicker than Kimi.
And Grosjean telling his team that he's much quicker than Kimi. They are running currently in 4th and 5th places. There they are.
Well, whether the team react to it or not remains to be seen. Doesn't look like he's being held up at that sort of gap, so maybe Kimi is reacting as the balance of the car settles.
I mean, Raikkonen's not right behind Hamilton. It's an early stage of the race. He doesn't need to be frying his tyres by sitting right on Hamilton's gearbox, so he's just in touch at the moment, and I would think that that's what he wants to be. Still no sign of Vettel coming into the pits, so they're going to get a few more laps out of these tyres. Still looking at reasonable lap times here. They did a 1:37.8 last time. He does a 1:37.9. But in does come Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton is one of the leaders to come in. So he's going to get off these soft tyres and now go probably for just one more stop in this race, if they can get the distance out of these tyres.
Well, a new set of tyres going on, and of course this now gives Red Bull and the teams that have stayed out, they'll be able to look at not his first sector time, of course, because it's going to have the combination of the stop time in the pit lane, but sector 2, they'll be able to see just how much faster he's able to go on a new set of the prime tyres. As I said at the beginning, new to new, there's more, well, a 1.5 seconds difference between the yellow sidewall and the white sidewall tyre.
He's come back out in 10th place. He's just ahead of Pastor Maldonado there, who started the race on the medium compound tyre. But this outlap is crucial for Lewis Hamilton, that he doesn't get held up. And interestingly also, he's not far behind his teammate. Rosberg is currently running in 9th place, on board with Hamilton here. So he's made the pit stop.
Okay, Lewis, big push now, big push.
And this could work to his advantage versus the Red Bulls, because the early stopper should be quicker on the next lap.
He's gone wide.
Pushed too hard. They asked for a big push. That was just a bit too much. Very late on the brakes, but he has got a little bit of air in front of him at the moment. As we see Button going through the shot, he's running 8th. Hulkenberg is in 9th place. Rosberg, let's just listen.
Box. Talk map 1 and box. Talk 1 and box.
They've got to respond, haven't they,
yeah,
David?
Nice early message there from his engineer, Rocky. And this will be pretty close with Rosberg, actually, whether they get in and out in front of them. Certainly they should get out in front of Maldonado, who's 20 seconds behind. Rosberg last time round was 16.4, so not quite enough for them to be able to jump him, unless Rosberg has had a tardy lap. That was an impressive pit stop.
Beautiful pit stop once again by Red Bull, and we're also seeing
Perez in the background.
Perez in. I don't think Hamilton will have done enough. Let's wait and see as Vettel comes back out. Vettel coming out in front of Rosberg, I think. In fact, I don't think Hamilton has done nearly enough.
That's right, there's Rosberg.
Yeah, so he's in front of Hamilton's teammate there, and rejoins the field, Sebastian Vettel, but he's got out ahead of Hamilton, who's a big threat. Rosberg still could be a threat in this race, even though he's coming from further back. But he's in front of him, and the two Mercedes will be running very close to one another. And of course, Hamilton will be on fresher tyres.
Yeah, and crucially, Sebastian Vettel in front, some fresher tyres on Rosberg. That was absolutely a perfect example of teamwork. It was always going to be tight whether they could get Sebastian out in front of Rosberg, but that's exactly what they've done. 7 racing laps, and he's pulled out enough of a gap to take on new tyres and still be in front of the Mercedes.
So really impressive. But I tell you, Webber, who has stayed out and is now leading this race, has just done a very good first sector. His tyres have not quite gone away yet, so he will still be pushing here, Webber, to see whether he gets a chance of beating Vettel when he comes out. And of course, Vettel's got a little bit of traffic.
Now.
Yeah, so Webber is one to watch in this scenario here. Let's listen.
box, Mark, box, talk 1 and box.
Yep, that was predictable. They're bringing him in on the very next lap. So where is Webber? He's now going to be heading into the pits. Here we are, Mark Webber into the pits. Will he be able to come out ahead of Sebastian Vettel? It's going to be very close between them.
I think he will. Vettel's got some traffic ahead. I think Webber's going to get out.
Oh no, he won't, because it's a slow start, the right rear. And his chance has gone, surely now, of being in front.
His wheel's gone.
Oh no, Mark Webber into the pit.
Oh no.
And it hits a guy in the pits. That's horrible to see.
Yeah.
And that errant wheel, and that is just a shocker for Mark Webber. It's not what you want to see at all. So rarely it happens when you consider the speed of these pit stops. But Mark Webber's race, well, it could well be over. They might be able to get that car back, I suppose, but any chance, obviously, of doing well in this race, all gone for Mark Webber. Sebastian Vettel in the traffic there. So now the race leader, interestingly, is Romain Grosjean. Grosjean passed Raikkonen. Raikkonen, in fact, has been in, that's why. So Raikkonen has been into the pit. So Grosjean is now the race leader here, ahead of Alonso, of course, has stayed out. We know Alonso is going to be staying out there on the medium compound tyre for that much longer. But Grosjean doing some good lap times, 1:37.
Okay, switch off the engine, please. Switch off the engine.
And it is over for Mark Webber. The Nürburgring race, which has always been good for Mark Webber, took his first ever victory here. Sadly, on his last visit to the track in Formula One, it's not ended in a good way.
No, it hasn't, but I've got to say my immediate thoughts are finding out, of course, whether that cameraman who was hit with that bouncing wheel he's been attending to in the pit lane. We can see from the commentary box, so hopefully nothing too serious. But meanwhile,
Grosjean's just done a brilliant lap there, David, and his tyres, remember, the soft tyre he's on. The Lotus is doing what we've seen in the past, which is looking after its tyres very well. Grosjean's on for a real chance here of being in front of some of the other soft tyre. Webber's car being pulled back. Vettel now getting a move on Hulkenberg. That could be important. Vettel was held up a bit by Hulkenberg in the Chinese Grand Prix earlier this year, and it cost him a shot at a podium there. Look at the two Mercedes now right together as Rosberg in front of Hamilton. Hamilton on the fresher tyres, and the two teammates want to make their own race work here.
Yeah, but they've got to...
Raikkonen with Hamilton. I hadn't realised Raikkonen was trying to go around the outside of Hamilton. Doesn't quite manage it. And that is also very important, because Raikkonen was behind Hamilton before the pit stops. He very nearly had a chance of getting past him.
Well, as Hamilton's being held up by Rosberg, that allowed Raikkonen the chance to jump. And certainly, if the team are trying to get the maximum result this afternoon, they've got to release Hamilton as Webber rejoins.
So he is still in the race, right. Did wonder whether he was going to be able to rejoin. Obviously, no real damage done to his car when the wheel came off. So he comes out, as you say, right at the very back of the field. So let's just remind you what's happening. Grosjean is leading this race for Lotus. Alonso second. Button is now up to third place, having started on the medium tyre. He's ahead of Hulkenberg, who is... and Vettel's in there as well. So Vettel is actually fourth, then Hulkenberg in fifth place, then Rosberg and Hamilton, as we've seen, then Raikkonen in eighth, Maldonado's in ninth, and Bottas in 10th. But of course, we've now got cars that are on quite different strategies. Those that started on the medium compound tyre going as far as they can into this race, and Grosjean still not coming into the pits, interestingly. So he still leads this race by 9.6 seconds.
And the DRS zone.
Vettel making a move here, getting past Button, and that brings Vettel up into third position. So he's forging his way through the traffic, which is, of course, key to his strategy. He cannot afford to get held up by the traffic at all.
So Nico, really need to push hard now. Grosjean is about to pit, and he'll come out in front of you if you don't close the gap to Hulkenberg.
So Rosberg's pushing for his own sake, but he's got Lewis Hamilton chasing him and Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, actually, that unquestionably Lewis Hamilton is the faster Mercedes at this time on fresher tyres. And, well, will remains to be seen.
Let's just get down to the pits. Tom, have you got any information on us after that pit stop for Mark Webber?
I I haven't got any information yet about this, the FOM cameraman, other than that he's gone to the medical centre, and I will get information to you about that as soon as possible. But it's just so rare to see Red Bull make a mistake like that. Funnily enough, there had been a bit of gamemanship prior to Sebastian Vettel making his first pit stop. The guys came out into the pit lane, then went back in, and of course it was the right rear was the issue for Mark Webber there. The wheel actually came off in front of me in the pit lane. He stopped about 50 metres to my right. Nigel Hope, their mechanic, picked up the right rear, took it back to the pits. They turned Mark's engine off and sent him on his way again, but it's just desperately sad.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there, Tom. We're just trying to hear in a little bit of radio. Didn't quite catch that. Grosjean still leading this race. He's still out there on the soft tyre at the moment. Fernando Alonso is running in second, but we're running on board with Kimi Raikkonen, tucked in behind Lewis Hamilton, with Nico Rosberg just up ahead. And Rosberg started on the medium tyre, trying to go as far into this race as he can before coming into the pits, but it's not helping his teammate Hamilton. Really, Hamilton could do with getting past, and Hamilton's been on the radio and said Nico's not in the same race.
Nico, you are on a different strategy to Lewis. Don't hold him up.
Now, is he actually going to let him through here or not? That's the question, David.
Well, that's a very clear message from the team that they would expect him to do so. And although when you look at that gap, you'd say, well, he's not close enough. But what happens, of course, is you run in the dirty air of the car in front. They've used all the efficient energy when they pass through the undisturbed air, and they chuck a whole bunch of dirty stuff at you, and the car just doesn't perform. And although he's in fresher tyres and on a different strategy, then you can see he's having to lift up through the high-speed chicane. That allows Raikkonen to really close on to the back of Hamilton. We also picked up a message that Hamilton's rear tyres were close to the edge in peak temperature, so he's maybe in a situation of losing the rear.
We are still on plan A target lap.
So plan A for Jenson Button. You would expect them to perhaps be looking at a two-stop race. Grosjean, we gather, is going to be doing another lap before he comes in the pits. This is an incredibly impressive first stint from the Lotus of Romain Grosjean. Nobody thought the soft tyre would still be delivering this kind of lap time. In comes Alonso. That's early. That's a much earlier stop from Alonso than we were expecting, because he started on the medium compound tyre. He's done only 13 laps. Hamilton had a go at Rosberg there, couldn't quite make the move stick, and that again gives Raikkonen the chance to close up. So Rosberg has not allowed him through, and Alonso is back out once again.
Well, put the tyres to one side. That's actually a sort of classic three-stop lap, but of course with these medium tyres, they're getting very long durability, low degradation, so he certainly can two-stop it from there. Well,
maybe the higher track temperatures are making two-stop less likely now. Maybe we will end up in a three-stop race, because track temperature 44 degrees, and they haven't run these revised tyres, let's not forget. A huge amount of information on the Pirelli tyre for this weekend. Well,
Lotus are able to pull off a pit stop like we saw from Red Bull with Sebastian Vettel, then he has a chance of coming out in front of Button, so he'd be out in just in behind Sebastian Vettel. So it's been a good effort from Romain Grosjean.
Very good effort indeed, yes. We'll see him in this time, we think. He's just gone through the middle sector point, so he should be heading into the pits any moment. And of course, then now that we've seen Alonso make his pit stop, that will bring Vettel back into the lead of this race, with Jenson Button will be in second place. Hülkenberg still going well in the Sauber. He's on that different tyre strategy. And in has come our race leader, Romain Grosjean, switches to the medium compound tyre and gets away quickly.
Good stop. It's interesting that he's gone longer on the soft than Alonso was able to do on the medium.
Yeah, that is amazing. Very surprising indeed. So Romain Grosjean rejoins.
Just in front of Hülkenberg.
Yeah, Hülkenberg just there behind him. So Romain Grosjean finally coming in for his pit stop, managing a lap longer on his soft tyres than Fernando Alonso managed on his medium tyres.
Have they swapped positions, the Mercedes?
Yeah, you're right. Rosberg's behind Hamilton now. So Hamilton's managed to get past Rosberg, and Raikkonen trying to do likewise here. See if he can get past Rosberg on this different strategy. Gary, are you surprised to see Alonso in as early as he was?
Very, very surprised. I can only think he may have had a puncture or something, because lap 12, there is no way that you can make anything work from there. He's definitely into a three-stop strategy now. So, you know, it's one of those sort of things. Maybe something's gone wrong with him. But for Romain Grosjean, fantastic there. To get to lap 13 in those tyres, doing the laps he did, now he's out in front of Hulkenberg. It's exactly where he wanted to be.
Yeah, so Grosjean is one to watch in this race. It's a brilliant first stint from him. About time he needs to deliver a good result for the sake of his career. Kimi Raikkonen, though, still held up behind Rosberg. And, of course, Hamilton's now able to get away a bit.
Yeah, Hamilton able to get away because he doesn't have to keep an eye on Kimi Raikkonen behind him. You know, that's now Rosberg's job. So Lewis is going to be able to push a little bit and try and shut that gap down on Hulkenberg.
Raikkonen's going to be close enough to have a look at Rosberg into the chicane.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have a go, but of course he's on the outside here, but he's still going to go for it. Well, that was a lovely move from Kimi Raikkonen. He just makes the corner, really went deep into the braking area, but now he's got to defend a little bit as he comes up towards the final turn. But Kimi Raikkonen makes the move stick. And David, we've said how consistent Kimi has been since his return to Formula One. There have been one or two occasions where perhaps he hasn't gone for the move where he might have done. He certainly went for it that time.
Well, last of the late breakers, he struggled to make the chicane, but he pulled it off. And I think Rosberg must have thought he wasn't braking for the corner at all. He pulled out such a gap as he headed to the first apex. So, yeah, great pass. Good press. You can see he activates it along the back straight. Rosberg defends to the left. Oh, no, sorry, excuse me. This is Grosjean and Button. I thought we were seeing a replay of the move on Rosberg.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because Grosjean's just retaken second place there. So Grosjean is only 4.3 seconds behind Vettel. Now, this is a replay of Mark Webber's pit stop with that right rear.
Well, I think what happened they had a problem with the nut, of course, so he's brought the gun off. And as he's been putting in a new nut or adjusting something, I think what's happened is the man responsible for putting the green light on has taken that as an indication that the actual wheel was engaged, where I believe they normally have a sensor in there will tell you that it's either been seated.
Okay, Roman, good job, excellent job, Roman. So let's get after Vettel now.
Ayu Komatsu, that's
Okay, Sebastian. Grosjean stayed out longer on his set of options. He's now P2, you're +4 Grosjean. +4 Grosjean, he's got new primes now.
And that's the key. He's got new primes. He's got the new medium tyre, so he's in better shape with his tyres than you are, Sebastian, so you're going to have to watch out here. Vettel, though, managing the gap at the moment, although it's a new fastest lap by Grosjean, who does bring the gap down a bit, 3.4 seconds, and in fact, a very quick lap from Grosjean, as you would expect on a brand new set of tyres, but of course, that new tyre advantage goes away pretty quickly.
Well, it will drop off, but he's making hay while he's got that new set of tyres on. Right, this is going to be the Raikkonen pass. So Rosberg defends to the left. Raikkonen late on the brakes, locks it up, but very clever, keeps it inside the curve there, otherwise he probably would have had to give him the position back.
Yeah, beautifully done in the end, and he had to do that. So let's bring you up to date with most of the certainly the front runners having made a pit stop, but of course those who started on the medium tyre, the likes of Jenson Button, Nico Hulkenberg, have not yet made a pit stop. So Vettel leads, Grosjean is second, Button is third without having stopped yet, Hulkenberg fourth in a similar situation, Hamilton is then fifth, Raikkonen is sixth, they both have made pit stops, Rosberg is seventh on a similar strategy to Button, then Alonso's down in 8th place, Maldonado 9th, Bottas is 10th, ahead of Ricciardo, who made an early stop, seems to have lost out as a result of that. Perez is 12th, Sutil 13th, ahead of Di Resta now. Just listen.
Box, boost to 0.
Now that's interesting, because that would imply a 3-stop as well for Nico Rosberg. They're bringing him in on lap 16, so perhaps we are seeing this track with its higher temperatures moving us more towards a 3-stop race than the expected 2-stop race, and Nico Rosberg will be coming in unless it's more to deal with traffic. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
Well, what we were expecting to see was those guys starting on the medium tyre to take up the lead at the head of this race, certainly in this early phase, but it just hasn't happened. The guys who started on the soft tyres have been able to really use the performance, best displayed there by how far Grosjean went And it just goes to show that what they learn on a Friday is only an indication, it's not an exact guide.
Hamilton is sizing up Hulkenberg here with Kimi Räikkönen right behind him. And again, these two do need to get past Hulkenberg as quickly as possible from their point of view. But from Hulkenberg's point of view, he will do his utmost, of course, to stay in front of the Mercedes and the Lotus. Sauber have had a really tough time of it this year. And in fact, they haven't even been able to keep all their payments to Hulkenberg going. So he's a bit behind on his payments, but they are desperate, not only for money, but for a decent result. He got into the top 10 at the last Grand Prix at Silverstone. Very valuable point it was. What can he do here this weekend? We don't really know how it will work out, but from his point of view, he'll just want to keep these guys behind them. And Hamilton, meanwhile, will be doing his utmost to go through here.
It's a cracking part of the circuit up through that high-speed chicane. That's when the drivers really feel at one with the car. You get downforce pushing it into the ground and just enabling you to go so much faster through the turns.
But it's not enough to really close out. This is one of the DRS zones up the backstretch here towards the chicane, where Räikkönen made his move, of course, but Hamilton's not close enough there. And then they come through the chicane and up to the final turn, and then there's a second DRS zone. Oh, and he's in. Hulkenberg is in. So that clears the way. And again, it's earlier than might have been expected for somebody starting on the medium compound tyre. We are looking more like this being a three-stop race now. Hamilton is released. Räikkönen goes with him. And so they will now be chasing after Jenson Button, who is the only one of the front runners not to have stopped. I wonder if Button really can go all the way to sort of lap 24, 25 and make this a two-stop race. All good in the pits this time for Nico Hulkenberg. So back with the Hamilton-Räikkönen battle. 4.6 though, a bit of a slow stop actually for Hulkenberg. I thought it was better than that, but it wasn't as quick as expected. Räikkönen is able to close right up to the back of the Mercedes. Rosberg, of course, in the meanwhile has made his pit stop.
Well, Hamilton's running last lap 38.6. That's 37.0 for Grosjean. So that tells you the sort of difference in performance between the Lotus and the Mercedes at this stage of the race. So that's why Räikkönen's all over the back of him like a rash.
Yeah, and is he going to be able to find a way past Hamilton? Of course, a great piece of late braking earlier on that Kimi did, but it's a different story trying to do that on Lewis Hamilton.
That's so quick, man. These tires are not holding together very well.
Oh dear, so it looks as though Mercedes, who've had this problem before during the race of the tyre performance going away. Look at Räikkönen, he is catching in the DRS zone, and he may well do what he did just now, late on the brakes. Can he get it turned into the chicane? He turns it in, and he is past Lewis Hamilton into fourth place, and Kimi Räikkönen is moving up through the field here. Next one will be Jenson Button. He tries to pass, and Alonso now is right in there behind Lewis Hamilton as well. He made a stop a little while ago, of course, Fernando Alonso. He's on relatively fresh tyres, and I don't think it's going to be too long before he goes past the Mercedes. So, David, what is going on for Mercedes here in comparison to Silverstone, where we saw both Hamilton in the early stages and Rosberg particularly later? They looked after the tyre so well, but it doesn't seem to be happening here.
Well, track temperature, of course, 44 degrees, so a lot warmer, a different construction of tyre, Kevlar belt. And well, this is everyone discovering really on this day. I know I use that expression a lot, but Formula One is very much about this moment in history. If you ran the same race tomorrow and cooler track temperatures, you might see it, or you'd almost certainly see different performance levels from the cars. You're so dependent on how you keep your tyres working. Now, there was talk going into this race, it's Team Radio.
These guys are on different tyres to me, man.
These guys are on different tyres to me. I don't think so, Lewis. I think Pirelli have probably provided the same tyres. It's how the car uses them. And he did have problems in Friday practice with the balance, didn't he?
Yeah, well, we were seeing graining being the main sort of restriction in performance through the early part of this weekend. But as the track temperatures come up and more rubber's gone down, we're in the situation now where thermal degradation, the actual heat in the surface of the tyre, which is the issue. Will Alonso go for a late move? No, thinks about just keeping the position as he comes through the chicane, and he'll try and get himself nice and close as he comes through the last hairpin. The long right-hander, quite difficult to make too much headway through that corner, probably a little bit too far back unless he goes for a big break into the first corner. He's getting the slipstream now, DRS open.
Will he have a look into turn one? He's not close enough, and there's no way Alonso can attack there. Bit of a moment there, a bit of opposite lock on the apex for Hamilton.
Hamilton just looks like in a rally car. He's just sliding around, and he's been very clear with his message to the team. And he clearly wants to get in and put another set of tyres, but they'll be crunching the numbers and trying to do damage limitation.
Now Raikkonen has made the move on, well, that was when he made the move, sorry, on Hamilton. That was a little while ago now, and that was how much room he had. Let's take another look at it here.
No, it's just carbon copy of what he did on Rosberg. Mercedes haven't been as racy in a straight line this weekend. As you say, the Red Bull, who are typically down several kilometres an hour in top speed, are within 2-3 kilometres an hour top speed with DRS open and qualifying. So whether they have decided to put a bit more downforce on the car, or whether the upgrades that they've been bringing has just made the car a bit less efficient, so more drag. And here Alonso getting any position. Well, as he gets himself through 10 and 11, he'll be in a perfect place as he accelerate out of 11 down on the back straight to do a Raikkonen on the Mercedes.
Well, let's see if he can do it. Up towards the chicane, Fernando Alonso trying to get past Lewis Hamilton and move the Ferrari up here. He gets the slipstream, he moves to the outside, battle on the brakes, but Hamilton is late on the brakes, and Alonso cannot repeat what Kimi Raikkonen did. Hamilton fends him off for just a little bit longer. Just over 1/3 distance completed here at the Nürburgring. Sebastian Vettel leads the race. Romain Grosjean is currently second after a brilliant first stint. Button is holding on to the tires he started the race, but here comes Alonso. He moves to the outside down towards turn one. Hamilton protects the inside line. Can he cut back on the exit? This is classic racing here at the Nürburgring. He's on the outside now into turn two, but Hamilton holds the inside line, tries not to run too wide. And you're watching two world champions going wheel to wheel, fighting for 5th position.
Great stuff.
Is Nico having the same problem?
A firm Lewis, Nico suffering with the same issues.
I doubt if he said that just then. He probably said that a moment or two ago. Rosberg, of course, having made a pit stop down in 14th position now. And Alonso still not able to quite get past Hamilton. This is costing Alonso dearly in his attempts to make sure he gets a decent podium finish out of this race today. Just a quick reminder that Mark Webber had that incident in the pits earlier on. He is still running in this race. He's down in last position, but he is still running. The only retirement we've had so far is Felipe Massa, who spun very early on at the first corner. We do hear, though, the good news that the cameraman is basically okay. We will update you further with that as we hear any more information, but that is good to hear, and a relief after seeing someone hit by a wheel. He is in the medical centre now and being treated, but he is basically okay. So that's good news. Meanwhile, the tussle here between Hamilton and Alonso, no change as they went through the chicane. Back to the second DRS area, just coming up here.
And Button in.
Right, Button has got to lap 22. Still not quite far enough to really make it a straightforward two-stop race. He's going to need... Oh, and here comes Alonso again. My goodness, late to the outside. Hamilton covered the inside. Now, has he got the traction off the corner? Hamilton just again fends him off. And there's nowhere really for Alonso to go except around the outside. And surely he's not going to go all the way there, is he?
That was brilliant. Lewis gave him space. He could have just ran him off the road. He had track position, but he has respect for Fernando, and he gave him the room.
He's going to go to the outside. There's not space there, though.
It started at turn one. It's still going as we go through turn 6.
Great stuff between Hamilton and Alonso, but Alonso can't find his way through as yet. Vettel leads the race from Grosjean. Raikkonen now up to 3rd, with Jenson Button having made his pit stop, but Button will still be up there amongst the top group. He comes back out in 6th place, Jenson Button.
I'm pushing, man, I'm pushing.
I think we can see that Lewis Hamilton's pushing. He is getting every last tiny little bit of grip out of that car that he can. We know he's struggling, but he is still fending Alonso off. By the way, in 7th place behind these two at the moment, Maldonado's 7th, Perez is 8th, Hulkenberg 9th, and Sutil is in 10th position. Back up to the chicane again. He's just not close enough at that point.
It's not, and you've got to wonder just how long he can go. Well, not long, he's in. Hamilton for his 2nd stop.
So Hamilton gets out of the way for now. Oh, look at that. Hamilton almost sliding into the curb on the outside. Slows the car down. and brings it into pit lane. So it's a relatively short stint for Hamilton on that. 15 laps. Well, that's really all we're seeing out of these harder tyres, less than we expected. 15 laps on that set. Away goes Lewis Hamilton once again. Now, where will he be in comparison to Jenson Button? Button's just gone down. I think it's turn 1.
Yeah, he's in behind Suttle there in the Force India, so he's out just in front of him.
Yeah, that brings him out in 8th.
So Button just out in front of Perez.
Yeah, Button running.
Hulkenberg behind him.
Button 6th, Perez 7th. There is Hulkenberg in 8th position. Then, as you say, Hamilton has come back out. He's, well, it is 8th now.
We're on plan B, Jimmy. We're on plan B.
Meanwhile, into the pits, Valtteri Bottas in the Williams. Gutierrez has just come back out, so has Jean-Eric Vergne as well. And that's their second pit stop. So Bottas, although it's his first pit stop, interestingly, he started on medium compound tyre. Oh, and we've got lots of smoke coming out of the back of the Marussia of Jules Bianchi, and he's putting off fire indeed for Bianchi, and looks like an oil fire of some sort. Presumably the engine has expired.
A major blow up. When you see the white smoke, that's usually an indication of oil and water being mixed together, and the only way you can get oil and water mixed together in an engine is if you put a piston or a conrod or something through the side of the block.
Yeah, and that's very rare sight in Formula 1 nowadays. The Cosworth power unit in the back of the Marussia, and Jules Bianchi sadly walks away. In the battle of the young teams at the moment, by the way, Charles Pic is leading the battle now in the Caterham ahead of his teammate Van der Garde. But Jules Bianchi, a highly rated Frenchman who has impressed many people so far this year, is not going to get the chance to do any more impressing in this race.
Well, meanwhile at the front, Grosjean had worked the gap down to under 2 seconds, but Vettel now just starting to find a bit of pace, and it's back up to 2.6 seconds. So certainly Grosjean keeping Vettel honest this afternoon, and this is along the back straight through turn 12, and that's what a major engine blow-up looks like. You get all those juices mixing together, added to the fact that you've got an extremely hot engine, and then, well, a little bit of unburnt fuel there just igniting. And the car, unfortunately, is rolling without a driver.
Oh my goodness,
backwards on the circuit. I've never seen that before, Ben.
No, and the tractor trying to get over to pick it up, but it has rolled thankfully to the grass now, and the leaders come through. There is the race leader, Vettel, who's obviously slowed down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hugely. Then Grosjean goes through, and then Raikkonen, and it takes out one of the...
Ah, it's perfect. It rolls the way they can push it behind the barrier. So that's a clever car. Well done, Marussia.
My goodness, what a day of incident we're seeing, both in the pits and on circuit. Safety car is out, though, and that has opened up the opportunity to come into the pits now. So all the crews are ready.
Vettel in it for his pit stop now.
So Sebastian Vettel into the pits. This is his second pit stop.
Grosjean has reacted as well.
So they're effectively on the same strategy from this point in. It's a straight fight between Vettel and Grosjean, with Raikkonen as well. Raikkonen having to stack behind Grosjean, presumably, although he was a little bit behind anyway.
This is good for Raikkonen if he can get back out and lined up close to his teammate.
Alonso's also in the pits as we speak, waiting for the Ferrari to head down pit lane. Raikkonen back out once more then. So Raikkonen re-emerges in 3rd place. So it's Red Bull leading ahead of the 2 Lotus, and then the Ferrari of Alonso as he exits the pit lane.
I think that was quite a late call on the safety car, and by the time they'd actually made that call, if you just sort of watched the trajectory of the car, then they're going to have had that, the car will be moved into a safe position by now already, I would have thought. So this will be a short safety car period. We'll just clarify that racing cars don't have handbrakes, so Bianchi wasn't being lazy. It is quite a steep climb up to the chicane there.
Rosberg into the pits as well. Hamilton has not been into the pits, of course he recently made a pit stop anyway. So let's just take a look at the replay. Jules Bianchi was standing and watching his car just drifting across the track there before, and there was just nothing he could do about it, just watching from the sidelines. Normally, of course, the car is left in gear, but with the whole thing sort of detonating like it did on him, I wonder, you know, the systems and everything presumably weren't working as normal.
Yeah, the gears will be in the gears and the engine will be an incredible mess after that blow up.
So, well, a little bit of a pause for thought here. Sebastian Vettel leads the German Grand Prix ahead of Romain Grosjean. The Frenchman for Lotus, then Kimi Raikkonen. the Iceman, is in 3rd place. Vettel and Raikkonen have never won in Germany, but then again, nor has Romain Grosjean. He's never won a Grand Prix. So there's an interesting little mix of 3 drivers we have up front. Alonso has won plenty of times in Germany, but he's in 4th position. But of course, he is now right on the tail, thanks to being under safety car. Jenson Button has made 1 stop. He is going to be a little bit out of sequence with all of those guys. Still has to run the soft tyre at some point, as Jenson Button. And so does Hulkenberg, who's in 6th place. Hamilton's in 7th. Perez is 8th. Sutil is 9th. And Di Resta now into the top 10. Rosberg 11th, ahead of Maldonado. So we'll just check that as they come across the line this time.
I think this has worked best for Raikkonen out of anybody, because it's allowed him to get back onto the gearbox of his teammate through all the racing that was going on with the Mercedes cars. He dropped back several seconds.
Just looking back to see whether it's might be Maldonado, yes, ahead of Perez, in fact. So it's Maldonado who is running in 8th position with the pit stop that Perez made, so he's then in 9th. And then you've got Sutil there in 10th.
Yeah, one of the consequences of trying, having them all restricted in speed is this is with Rosberg heading in behind the Force India. Force India already going slowly at that part of the pit lane, so that Force India probably had his teammate in pitting, so he's trying to slow Rosberg down to give him the best chance to get a clean run into his box. And then, yeah, looks like his teammate and the other Force India had already pulled out. Then it becomes a battle of the pit crews. And the Force India, so that was clever stuff actually from the Force India to slow Rosberg down to make sure he got a clear run into his pit box. But now they're running on the safety car and they're all restricted at the pace they're able to run at.
Problem for Bottas, look, when he made his pit stop.
Wheel gun failure. They've had to swap over to the other gun. Well, they thought it was a wheel gun failure, but just the nut wasn't. Change his gun again.
So another little
miscue.
pretty. No, that's right. So Bottas did eventually get on his way once again. Both Williams still running in this race. Maldonado at the moment is running up inside the top 10. Hasn't yet run the soft tyre, but maybe an opportunity for Williams here today would mean so much to them to just score a point, having failed to do so this year. But there will be some quick guys behind them. Rosberg notably may well be able to pick up some places. Lapped cars now overtaking the safety car. And in fact, that is Mark Webber. Yeah, of course, Mark Webber down a lap after the incident in the pit lane he suffered. So Sebastian Vettel knows he's got a fight on his hands. He's got the 2 Lotus cars behind him. Alonso not far behind as well. And in terms of the championship, of course, Vettel leading this points battle from Alonso. Alonso needs to try and get in front of him if he can.
Some messages that are being played to Vettel. He's been told that to use 1.5 seconds of KERS per lap. So they discharge some of the KERS just to maintain the temperatures in the batteries. If they get too hot or too cold, but clearly they're not going to get too cold here today, but when they get too hot, they start losing efficiency. And he also had the rather polite message telling him, don't forget to drink, it's hot out there.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a beautiful day, and a little bit different to what we've experienced many times here at the Nürburgring in the past. 25 degrees it is. I can't imagine the many times you've been here, David, whether you've been racing Formula 1 or in the German Touring Car Championship. I can't imagine it's been this nice on many occasions.
This is the warmest I've ever known at Nürburgring. You always pack your winter jacket, even in the summer here, just to be covered.
So Webber is released to go round and join the back of the queue. This is part of the regulations now, of course. Now, what was this? A replay of Webber. Well, he's just unlapping himself, so I don't quite know why. Did something happen as he came down the start-finish straight? Yeah, he is allowed to do that, isn't he? Because of the rules about overtaking the safety car. So he's passing under yellows, but he has been told that he may overtake. It was up on the screen, lapped car may now overtake. I suppose it's just showing us him going through.
Yeah.
So that was Mark Webber. Interesting little report on the radio. Lewis saying that he's in a very similar situation with his car as he was in Barcelona, i.e. no grip. Of course, famously in Barcelona, the 2 Mercedes dropped well back in the pack, didn't they, after qualifying on the front row together?
Yeah, doesn't sound good. Large delegation of Daimler board members here this weekend, obviously buoyed by the pole position for Mercedes, 6th of the season, but it's not looking so good in the race.
We have another retirement as well to add to Felipe Massa and Jules Bianchi. John-Eric Verne's car in the garage there. Hadn't noticed that that car was out as well. So great shame for Jean-Eric Vergne. His teammate Daniel Ricciardo still... He qualified 6th, but he's down in 11th place currently. Gutierrez is still in the race, he's 14th. As I mentioned just now, Van der Garde leads the young team's battle, but of course everything is closed up again, so it's race on again. Van der Garde had his own teammate, Charles Pic, behind him, still waiting for all the cars to line up together, so the safety car period has lasted longer than we might have expected.
Yeah, this is, you know, to enable the front runners not to have to overtake back markers, but it does take a long time.
We are back on the Prang A, but we are not sure about the tyres.
Not sure about the tyres, right. Now, maybe they are trying to go... They can't really be going all the way to the end on this set. I mean, based on what we've seen so far, that would be very difficult. You'd be doing half the Grand Prix.
Sure, wear-wise, they can, based on the predictions, but you've just got to react to what the driver's feeling. And, you know, predictions are all fine and well, but as we're saying, you know, what they predicted on Friday hasn't quite played out when you look at how far Grosjean was able to go on that first set of soft tyres.
That's right. But then Webber managed some 26 laps or so, didn't he, on Friday?
So all of this slow running is not got anything to do with marshals on track or safety of anyone. It's just purely waiting for Mark Webber, who's been allowed to unlap himself, to come around and join the back of the pack. He's currently at the last corner, just about to cross the start-finish line, as the next, well, the car he's going to line up behind, which is Max Chilton. As you can see, he's just coming out of turn 6 now, down into the hairpin at 7. So he should be able to catch them. No, maybe not this lap, but certainly the next lap.
Yeah, well, hopefully then we'll be able to get this race started once again, and with a good half of the race still to go, we could be in for quite a tussle, I think. So we'll just have to see what they do in terms of their stint length when we get the race up and running once more. Just taking a look at Nico Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg having a good run at the moment. There he is in 6th place. Manisha Kaltenborn, the team principal at Sauber. I should think that she'll be delighted to see that, but no one quite knows how it is all going to be resolved. Now, there's no word on the screens as yet that the safety car's coming in, so I think you're right, David. I think we're going to have to see one more lap before Webber has caught the back of the group. Yeah,
interestingly, he did a 31.7 first sector. That's only 2 tenths away from our current best first sector in the race, so he's pushing as he tries to regain his position. You'll just start to see the pack ahead of him going into the chicane, so he'll be in line as they cross the start-finish this lap, and you can expect the safety car to come in at the end of this one.
So it's been an eventful race for Mark Webber, but he will be at the back of the queue. I wonder how quickly he's going to be able to cut his way through the traffic. We know the Red Bull is very, very quick, so give him a chance. As we say, he did that 26-lap run on the Friday, so that would take him up to about lap 53. There's more rubber down now, so you never know. It might be that he can really go all the way to the end, but we're going to have to see.
Okay, Sebastian, you're doing a good job on fuel. Keep doing that. But we did a lap easy on the brakes. You take it a bit easy on the brakes.
And it's easy to think, David, they're not really doing much in this safety car situation, but actually the drivers are having to concentrate really hard.
There's a lot going on because you're driving at a much, much slower pace. You know, they're doing 2:21 lap times, and you just lose performance in the tyre and your brakes, you lose your rhythm, so they have to try and save fuel, which gives them a nice slow-mo there of the amount of movement in the tyre. But they're saving fuel, which will allow them to run the engine basically with more power effectively towards the end. And now, as they go through this lap with the safety car coming in, they'll start to get the engine mode set back into normal race mode. They won't be doing the fuel saving. They'll be putting heat in their brakes, radiating that heat through the discs into the tyres. And all of that sort of weaving, it's a good psychological thing, but it doesn't actually track surface to the tyre surface. You can create a lot of tyre surface temperature gain by spinning up the rear tyres.
So the safety car has been out for some 4 laps, but we know it's coming in on this lap. Sebastian Vettel leads the field with Romain Grosjean behind. Kimi Räikkönen is 3rd, then Alonso's 4th, Button is 5th, from Hulkenberg, Hamilton now 7th, ahead of Maldonado, Perez and Sutil. Gary, we've got half this race still to go. We were looking as though they weren't getting the kind of stint length out of the tyres in the first part to go to the end, but do you think they really could get to the end, any of these guys on this set of tyres?
I think the only 2 cars that I would say could get there. Let's hear Mark Webber on the radio.
Okay, Mark, so at the restart, I want to pick off these cars quickly.
So does Mark. Yeah, I think the only two cars that I would sort of say could get it is Grosjean and Raikkonen. I mean, they've looked after the tyres very, very well. Vettel will be, you know, Grosjean just make sure he keeps pushing Vettel.
So here we go into the restart. Sebastian Vettel picks it up out of the chicane straight away, and you've got the two Lotuses behind Grosjean and Raikkonen. Grosjean dropping back a little bit, didn't really get the restart as good as Vettel. Always difficult. The leader gets the chance to dictate the pace down towards turn one. I'm not sure anybody's going to have a real go here. Perez does have a little think on Maldonado. That could be quite fun between the Venezuelan and the Mexican, and behind them you've got Adrian Sutil, but it's all clean on the restart, David.
Yeah, Grosjean locked up at the chicane as he was trying to get everything set. It looks like Vettel just caught him out a bit there, so that's allowed Vettel to just open up a little bit of a gap on this restart. Raikkonen in position to try and put some pressure on Grosjean.
Mark Webber gained a couple of places in the background, so it certainly helped him out hugely. And Gary bunching this field up together. Of course, some of these drivers like Jenson Button still has to use the soft tyre at some point. Is that going to hurt him badly?
Well, I think he has to use it, but I don't think the McLaren can make 30 laps at a competitive pace on this tyre. So yeah, that could play into his hand. You know, he has to do that stop. At the end of the day, he'll have a very fresh set of the soft tyre. Those last few laps, you know, he can go very quickly.
And what about Maldonado's chances of actually getting points for Williams today? I know there's still a long way to go.
All you can do is keep your head down. 30 laps to go, you know, anything can happen.
Let's just take a look at what Mark Webber did on the restart, David. He got a couple of places.
Yeah, straight down the inside into turn one. And the Caterham doesn't want any of that battle either, and leaves the door well open.
After you, please. And Mark Webber said thank you very much. So yes, he's gained a couple. He's now in 16th place, but the safety car has certainly helped him hugely. The two Lotuses then, Grosjean and Raikkonen, followed by Alonso. Alonso's not really doing anything to catch them up, but he's not dropping away either. The one that is dropping away slightly in the background is Button. Button has Hulkenberg in the Sauber, and then Hamilton. You'd expect maybe Hamilton to start making a bit of progress, but remember his tyres are a little bit older than some of those behind him, certainly, and some of those ahead who have made the pit stop under safety car.
Yeah, Webber's got by Bottas as well, so he's now up to 15th. Get some points this afternoon?
Maybe, yes, maybe. Right from the back of the field. Remember, he won this race in 2009 despite a drive-through penalty after a little clash with Rubens Barrichello, but he still went on to win for the first time in his career, so it can be done. Just watching the field come through. De Resta going through in 12th place. Rosberg is 13th. So Nico Rosberg, who made a stop under that safety car, but not really making any progress. And this shows, once they're back up to speed, the relative similarity in performance we have in Formula One at the moment. In qualifying, you see the edge for Red Bull and for Mercedes, but on race-pace conditions, as we are at the end of this period of technical stability, there really isn't much to choose between the cars.
Yeah, I think this has been good for Formula One racing. And I think next year, when we're going to see Mark Webber picking off Gutierrez, or certainly having a look as they go into turn 10. But next year, when we have major regulation change, Mark didn't quite manage to do it in 10, but I suspect he'll have the opportunity to do so into the chicane, and with all of the turbocharged engines and a greater reliance on energy recovery and only 100 kilograms of fuel, there's some fear that we'll see real sort of endurance style racing next year.
Yes, it will be different. Let's enjoy what we've got at the moment and think about that another time. Gutierrez was a bit wide there, making a few mistakes.
Yeah, under pressure from the Red Bull. Seem pretty similar in their acceleration down the start-finish, but you'll see Mark Webber now buzzing in the limiter, so it's not really set up for picking a slipstream, because of course as soon as you hit the rev limiter at 18,000 RPM, you stop accelerating. You know, that becomes your sort of terminal velocity.
Well, the DRS will be enabled this time, so that may help his cause a little bit. Raikkonen's just gone fastest of anybody in the first sector, by the way, but Vettel has a 1 second advantage, so Vettel is just trying to eke out that advantage and get out of DRS range from Grosjean up front, but Raikkonen is definitely within DRS range of his teammate, as we continue to watch Webber there briefly. So there you are. Raikkonen definitely could use DRS on his teammate. They're coming up to another left and right, and then they'll be into the first DRS zone, and that's got to give Kimi Raikkonen just a little bit of a boost, of course. Vettel might be just far enough in front. Let's see as they come down the backstretch there. Yeah, Grosjean wasn't able to use DRS, but Raikkonen was.
Well, enable Raikkonen to gain a few tenths on the lap time, which just means he doesn't have to take as much out of the tyre when he's running behind his teammate to deliver the same lap time. So there's a big advantage in having DRS, not only on the opportunity to overtake, but just faster lap time.
Yeah, and it's going to happen again, because there's the DRS in action for Kimi Räikkönen, and he's just set fastest lap thanks to that. 1:35.774 for Kimi Räikkönen as he continues to close down on Romain Grosjean. Alonso's not staying with the pace of Räikkönen up ahead. Button is still in 5th place. Behind them, you've got Hülkenberg and the Sauber, and Hamilton having a bit of a go now at the German driver in the Swiss Sauber car. But the Mercedes definitely not showing the kind of race pace that they did do at Silverstone last time out.
Yeah, and Webber's still stuck behind Gutierrez, so the gearing in that, expecting to be running at the front rather than in the pack, is compromising his ability to make the overtake. Clearly he's got a quicker package, but not able to run in clean air and not able to overtake in a straight line. So Gutierrez keeps it clean, he may be able to hold on to that position.
Behind these guys, it's still Maldonado in 8th, Perez is 9th, Sutil in 10th, and Ricciardo is in 11th place, Di Resta's 12th, Rosberg is down in 13th place. As you say, Gutierrez and Webber haven't changed, they're still 14th and 15th, Bottas is 16th, Van der Garde is 17th, then Chilton is ahead of Charles Pic. So through all that restart, he managed to get, I wonder whether Pic has a little problem, although his lap time's looking half reasonable, but I'm not sure. Charles Pic might have had a problem on that last lap, perhaps. Hamilton definitely quicker than Hülkenberg, but he's not close enough to have a go up towards the chicane there. And as they're going to come around to complete another lap, it's still proving to be a tough race for Lewis Hamilton. Not quite the German Grand Prix he was hoping for when he started on pole position earlier today. Another new fastest lap, but this time for Grosjean.
Yeah, and he's 1 second exactly behind Vettel. So right in the zone where he can put some real pressure on Vettel for the lead.
Nico Hülkenberg seeing this as a real opportunity, of course. Points for Sauber, every point makes such a difference for them, but the two cars getting ever so close on that section. Hülkenberg still being talked about, of course, as a driver for one of the big teams in the future, known to be linked with Ferrari, but is there going to be a slot available? That's what you wonder, although Felipe Massa is going through a torrid time in his season at the moment.
We're hearing that Rosberg's been told that his front temperatures are high and they need some lift and coast. So basically when he gets to the end of the straight, he'll lift off the throttle and he'll count 1 before he hits the brake pedal, and that way
think 12 more laps on that set would be possible. 12 more laps on that set would be possible.
No, I doubt it. No.
That he's not going to get another 12 laps, so the strategic decisions will have to be based on that call. But as you say, this is good stuff here from Grosjean. Better drive that we've seen from him. He's been on the podium once this year. And in fact, these three drivers all shared the podium in Bahrain. Just slightly different because Raikkonen was second. Oh, Perez getting past Maldonado, but Maldonado won't give up. He does have to in the end, though. Or does he? Perez a little wide. I think the McLaren's through. Maldonado's back down to 9th as Perez moves up to 8th. In the background, Sutil kicking up the dust.
Yeah, he ran a little bit wide and all the drivers trying to avoid the dust there. You don't want to get any of that on your tyres. Just affects performance over the next couple of laps.
Oh, Perez never afraid of going to wheel. Let's have a look at it, David.
In the DRS zone, of course. Stays wide, cuts back to the inside. Straight in the car, release some curves, and then just lets it roll around the outside. And, well, nice move from Perez. Maldonado came back at him into turn 3, but not close enough.
They had their comings together last year, if you remember, but they do know each other well from racing in GP2, the category below Formula 1, and decent respect there. Hamilton a little bit closer here to the back of Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg just driving sensibly, putting the car in a position that makes it hard for Hamilton to overtake. First Grand Prix for Hulkenberg at the Nürburgring, although he's raced here many times in the past in other categories, but didn't have a full-time race seat, of course, in 2011 when Formula 1 was last here. Hamilton, again, you could hear Hamilton on the rev limiter too.
Yeah, they set up, and, well, all close stuff with the Sauber, but they set up with this 18,000 limit. He's going around the outside.
Can he do it? No, he can't. Hulkenberg just is able to shut the door.
If you remember back to when Raikkonen was on the outside of Hamilton, he gave him space on the exit of that corner. Well, Hulkenberg, fighting for his position, fighting for his career, didn't do anything like that. He just drove Hamilton wide. So that'll be noted.
Yeah.
Paul, we have no concern over rear tyre life. No concern over rear tyre life, okay?
And that's really interesting because remember, Di Resta's done the longest stint of anybody in a race so far this year. That was Canada, wasn't it, when he did that hugely long stint. So it is quite possible that Di Resta, the Force India, maybe both Force Indias, will be able to do the entire rest of this race on the tyres they're on currently. So that's one to watch. And with them having scored points, double points in the last couple of events in the top 10 with both cars, don't discount that from happening again. It really will come down to how well your tyres last in this second part of the race.
Well, Hulkenberg, we can see from that graphic, has spent all his car's energy. Lewis will take a little boost as he comes out of the chicane here.
Oh, he's in.
I think the pit stop is not far away.
Copy that, Nico, copy.
Well, obviously that's a delayed radio message because he's not pitting and telling them, I don't think it's far away. That would have been somewhere else around the lap.
He managed 19 laps on that set of tyres, so that's a little bit of a longer stint than we've seen on the medium from quite a few, but it's not enough for people to be getting to the end of the race, except perhaps the like of Force India and maybe Lotus. Maybe Red Bull, I suppose. I mean, Red Bull have got their tyre wear much better than it was in the early part of the year, but maybe that's why Vettel is just trying to manage this race currently. He's sort of allowed Grosjean, Raikkonen to be right with him, and he's trying to protect his tyres at the same time.
Well, the gap is just a bit too close for comfort. He can't afford to make one mistake, and you can see it's that's what half a second looks like at that speed. So I'm not sure whether this is just it right now for Vettel. It is possible that, you know, between sets of tyres you do get slightly different grip levels, and of course as the fuel burns off, with more than half the race completed, the car will have shed half its fuel load, and it just becomes, you know, it runs a little bit higher, and the whole effect of the aero performance and balance changes. And the Lotus is right in the zone here. You know, you just get the feeling that if Grosjean could find his way past, then he would open up a gap to Vettel quite quickly. Raikkonen dropping back slightly, whether that's again strategic just to cool his brakes and tyres, or whether he's just running out of tyre performance. Grosjean does look like the stronger Lotus driver.
Yes, at the moment he does, but Raikkonen maybe, as you say, looking the long game towards the end of the race. Alonso getting maybe a fraction closer now as Raikkonen just drops back. 2.4 seconds the gap between Raikkonen and Alonso. Button is still in 5th position. Webber into the pits, so Webber having made quite a few places, but he'd done 14 laps on his set of medium compound tyres, has come into the pit lane now. So back on board with Romain Grosjean. Been a tough season for him. Of course, he's had 4 consecutive races where he's failed to score any points at all. Did start the season pretty strongly in terms of scoring points consistently, and it's been a bit up and down for him. He really could do with a good result here this afternoon.
When we spoke to him yesterday, I think he had a very clear thought processes, which is you have to keep believing in yourself. And there's no question, we've always said this, he's got great speed. He won the GP2 championship. It just has been a little bit inconsistent, but what we're seeing right now is when he's hot, he's very hot, and this is a great performance.
27 years old now, Romain Grosjean, and yet to win his first Grand Prix. Of course, Sebastian Vettel, who has won so many Grand Prix and has won 3 World Championships, turned 26 this last week, so he's a year younger than Romain Grosjean, and he's got all this success, and Grosjean's still trying to sort of prove himself.
Just the way it goes.
It is.
Opportunities, and they say you create your own opportunities, and certainly Romain, you know, was in Formula 1, he went out back to GP2 and then got his chance again, so he's been quite lucky in that respect. A lot of drivers, once they step out of Formula 1, they never get the chance to come back.
Kimi Raikkonen, well, he stepped away from Formula 1 to go rallying, but we've seen him come back in such fine form. He's scored points, he's the only driver to have scored points in all races this year. Well, a bit of oversteer there.
I'd like to say it's just starting to open up the gap now, and well, Raikkonen, it's a game of cat and mouse, isn't it? Raikkonen was looking like he was dropping off the back of Grosjean. Now looks like he's coming back into play again, and you know, you do lose performance in the dirt here.
All right, Grosjean lost the DRS. Come on, he's too far back now. Come on,
Right.
keep that up.
Rocky getting onto the radio, encouraging Sebastian Vettel, because Grosjean, what he's saying there is he's lost the DRS, he's dropped back more than a second, and that means he's out of the DRS zone, and suddenly that makes it easier for Vettel to try and pull away.
It's great, isn't it, to listen to the relationships between engineer and driver, the different way they, you know, do they use the carrot, do they use the stick?
Yeah, Vettel is pushing. You can see he's over the curb on the exit there of turn 11, heading down the section that DRS would be enabled, but it's not close enough for Grosjean to do that. Raikkonen's got a little bit closer to the Frenchman once again, bobble it over the curb. And these 3 cars still looking as though the likely ones, but Grosjean's in. Right, now Grosjean in, and we've got 20 laps to go in this race, and pitting early is to your advantage. If you have to make a pit stop, then to come in earlier than the other guy does help.
Yeah, getting a new set of tyres on, he'll be able to, presuming he has a good pit stop, he'll be able to go out. If there's no traffic, he'll be able to hit the tyres and pick up a lot of lap time. Good stop.
He's away, and surely Red Bull have got to respond to this,
yeah,
unless they are planning to go all the way to the end.
Let's just see where he comes out in traffic. He'll be behind Hamilton. There's Perez.
Yeah, so he comes out in 6th.
Yeah, clean air in front.
And that's good if he's got some clean air. That was well timed. Alonso going well at the moment as well. Good lap, personal best lap on that last lap. So Alonso's trying to close that gap up here.
Well, Raikkonen has just gone 5/10 quicker in that first sector than Vettel.
Wow.
And that's responding to his teammate, of course, coming in. And well, Vettel, not a good first sector.
Fastest lap for Mark Webber. He has just done that, having been into the pits, of course. Webber made a pit stop a moment or 2 ago. He's gone on to another set of medium tyres. Romain Grosjean is pushing hard here.
Okay, Romain, we are going to the end, but we need to keep pushing this lap.
So, crucial lap here. Romain Grosjean, and Raikkonen's very fast in the middle sector as well. Tom, that looked like a pretty good pit stop, but while you're chatting to us, keep an eye for Raikkonen. He might be heading in on this lap, I don't know.
It was absolutely nails, Ben. It was precision. One of the best pit stops I've seen this afternoon. And let's not forget, oh, to my left, Red Bull are coming out into the pit lane.
Yeah,
so
if Vettel's in. So it's the race leader who is in. And interestingly, Raikkonen has stayed out. Tom, just talk us through this.
Well, it's just to my left. It looks another brilliant stop by Red Bull. But let's just now see how it ends up with Grosjean, who has not finished on the lead lap since Bahrain, his podium in Bahrain.
Let's take a look then. He's out in front of Grosjean. Yeah, that worked well. Red Bull had to respond. They did so, and they've got him back out in front of Romain Grosjean here. And Vettel, of course, loves to be in this position. He's been there so many times in the past, in control. He's looking at trying to score his 30th win this weekend, and not only that, his first ever home win. But Raikkonen is still perhaps one to watch. Not quite as quick on the first leg of this next lap, Raikkonen, and Vettel does seem to have it just about under control here.
Yeah, it'll certainly be close between Raikkonen and his teammate when he comes out. All depends on just exactly what lap time Grosjean's been able to unleash. Expect to see him coming in.
Well, certainly Vettel's been told he does need to, let's just listen.
You should try to cover Raikkonen, mate.
Yeah, so they are worried. They are still worried about Kimi Raikkonen. This could be the crucial moment of the race here. Vettel is still hard on it as Romain Grosjean chases, but Kimi Raikkonen is also doing his utmost. We expect to see the Lotus into the pits, do we, this time around? Let's keep an eye out for the Lotus guys getting ready. And that's, yeah, just
Vettel responds by going fastest of all in the middle sector, 39.3.
No, Raikkonen stays out, interestingly. So Kimi Raikkonen has stayed out. Now this is very, very interesting that they're leaving him out there, unless they're planning to leave him out there the whole time. I would thought that was a fairly risky strategy. We'll have to wait and see. Across the line goes Vettel, so he's currently in 5th place. Grosjean is in 6th. Alonso currently in 2nd because he hasn't made an extra pit stop yet. Button is up to 3rd, and remember, Button still has to run the soft tyre at some point.
Yeah, Grosjean more than half a second quicker than Raikkonen, so I think it's all over for Raikkonen in terms of being able to leapfrog these guys. He's going to come out behind his teammate if he does have to pit again.
Yeah, if he does have to pit, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe they are going to see if they can get Raikkonen all the way to the end. Seems maybe they're splitting strategies. Take the gamble with one and go with the other strategy, follow the leader on the other. They're just coming down the hill now, getting quite close to the back of Rosberg, I think that is it? Or Hamilton? Yeah, Hamilton's running in 4th position at the moment. It is Hamilton that they are closing up on. And
well, low degradation on these tyres, on the medium tyre. It was 0.03 predicted. Normally it improves as the weekend goes on, so they wouldn't it wouldn't be a crazy thing at all for Raikkonen to just stick with it, and he'll lose some performance late in the race relative to the guys behind, but we know he's Mr. Consistency.
Indeed we do. But Vettel and Grosjean, they're catching Hamilton, who's in 4th place. But of course Hamilton is not going to be easy to pass. He's done a lot of laps though, I think, on this last set of tyres, because remember, he didn't stop under that safety car. So I'm not sure that Hamilton's going to have anything to defend with as Vettel comes up to get that 4th place. He stopped just before the safety car on lap 23, so it does mean he's got a little bit more mileage on these tyres. And Vettel will be aware of that. I'm sure Rocky will have told him that. Come on, you need to get past Hamilton as quickly as possible to make this work. Now, Gary, Raikkonen has stayed out there. I was sort of thinking he was putting in quick laps, ready to come into the pits. It didn't happen. He stayed out there. Does that mean he's trying to go to the end, or what here?
Well, I think so. I mean, that's what I'd be trying to do. I'm sure Lewis pulled Grosjean into the pits just to make sure he could suck Vettel in as well, because if Grosjean came in and was doing quick laps, he would overtake Vettel, and probably Red Bull were going to have to stop again, so they had to stop at that time to cover Grosjean. Now it's up to whether Raikkonen can keep the pace up and get to the flag.
Right, now that's really interesting. Tom, I believe you're at the Lotus pit at the moment.
It's all looking pretty calm at the minute, Ben. I get about between 8 and 12 seconds notice. That's how quickly, that's how long before the car comes in that the boys go out. So I will keep an eye on things down here for you, but it's all looking pretty calm at the moment.
And interestingly, Lewis Hamilton, Gary, just been told by the team, don't waste time holding these guys up, because we actually need, you know, you to stay to strategy. Vettel getting a little closer. So Hamilton's just got to run his own race here, really.
He has got to run his own race, but you know, he again sitting there thinking at the end of the day, if I can keep Vettel behind me for a little while, it'll stop him running away with championship. So, you know, he's running a race here for the longer term. Looking at 10 races down the road, you don't want Vettel running away too easily, but there he goes.
Vettel passes Hamilton, does he? Down the outside, he's side by side with the Mercedes, who just gives him space, but there's no way through, and just inches separate them as they come out of the corner, David.
That's interesting. Vettel left the door wide open, having, well, and then he manages to make it stick at turn 3, but he's certainly far enough ahead to start turning in, but just gave enough space to Lewis, who said, well, look, I'll take it back, thank you.
So Vettel getting through fairly smartly. Grosjean's got to try and do likewise. 15 laps to go. Still some pit stops to be expected from the likes of those that haven't used the soft tyre. Alonso, Button, who are running second and third at the moment. They've got to make another pit stop, whatever happens.
They've got to make another pit stop, yeah, to comply with the regulations of running both tyres. Kimi Räikkönen's tyres now 20 laps old. Sebastian Vettel's tyres 3 laps old. I mean, is it going to make it to the end? I'm sure Kimi is one of the guys that can really take it there if anybody can.
Yeah, it'd be a brilliant piece of strategic call and race driving if he's able to do the 35 laps on those tyres.
Yeah.
Let's say from Friday prediction, that's absolutely possible.
And he's still doing some good lap times. Räikkönen quick in the middle sector, not the fastest of all. Now here comes Grosjean on Hamilton, and he moves to the outside as they head up towards the chicane. Can he complete the move? Yes, easily, even before he turns in. Just so much more grip available on the brakes there, and it gave you a clue. And is Hamilton coming in? He is. It's time to change those tyres now for Lewis Hamilton. They've done some 22 laps, I think, on that stint, so he needs a new set of boots on, and let's see whether Mercedes are going to still be able to score some points. Hopefully he should still be in the top 10, but it's not the victory that we wondered about after he took that brilliant pole position yesterday.
Yeah, he was certainly in a happy place when it came to the important part of qualifying, but it just has slipped away in race pace once again. Mercedes struggling to keep a balance and get the best out of these tyres.
So he comes back out in 11th place, Lewis Hamilton. So he's only just outside the points at this stage, and he's come out behind his teammate Nico Rosberg, who still needs to use the soft tyre. And there are several others in front of Hamilton, of course, who definitely need to make a pit stop and use the soft tyre. Meanwhile, Webber, who's still moving up through the field, he had that extra pit stop a little while ago. He's now to 13th position, Mark Webber, and he's been told by the team that they reckon he's going to be well inside the top 10. P7 is their target, so maybe they can get well up. Hulkenberg, this was just a moment ago on Nico Rosberg, and that's moved him into 10th position here. Hulkenberg still to use the soft tyre, though, so we do know that he's going to be coming back into the pits, but that is the same story for Rosberg, so that's a genuine change of position, and that's surprising. I mean, Sauber passing Mercedes, wouldn't have expected that.
No.
So across the line goes our race leader then, Kimi Räikkönen. Well, this is going to be nerve-wracking, not only for him and for the team, David, with Alonso there in second, because Kimi's been in this position several times at the Nürburgring in the past, and it has gone wrong for him on the very last lap in the past.
Yeah, he's no stranger to having misfortune while leading Grand Prix. Most of his McLaren career, he had shocking reliability, it has to be said.
And he had that famous tyre fail on him when they ran it with a flat spot right to the end of the race, and it nearly made it, but it just demolished itself and wiped out the front suspension on the last lap when he was heading for victory.
That's right, down into turn 1.
So can Räikkönen hang on in front? So his advantage over Alonso is 4.5 seconds, but his advantage really further back that we need to look at, it's to this man, Sebastian Vettel, who is of course on a charge. He's on fresh tyres, and he is 15 seconds behind the race leader. Just looking there at Hamilton, who made the move on his own teammate, and that was very straightforward. So that brings Hamilton now up into 10th place. Another look at it.
Yeah, just straightforward DRS pass. Nothing much that Nico could do about that. Kimi's apparently told his team tyres are not bad, so
or will they stay not bad, or will they fall off the cliff? We've seen that for Kimi in the past when they got it a little bit wrong in China last year. The last time he failed to score points when the tyres just went away from him at the end.
Kimi, you must only talk after turn 12. We cannot hear you anywhere else.
That's a little problem then on the radio communications. Presumably they don't have to worry too much as long as they get that message across. Button is into the pits now then. So Jenson Button in from third now. Are they they're gonna obviously go for a 12-lap stint on the soft tyre. So Button will be quick here. When he comes back out, this is a real opportunity for Jenson Button to still score some useful points, because where's he going to come out? Sort of, I think, just ahead of his teammate again, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or maybe a bit further back.
Big performance from those tyres.
So he's in the pit lane at the moment. He's had a 3.3 second stop as Vettel continues in third place now. But he does know that the second place car of Fernando Alonso has to make a pit stop. He's 10 seconds behind Alonso. That's not enough for Alonso to stay in front. When he does make his pit stop, it's around 18 seconds, the time loss, when you come into the pits. Button has come back out, by the way, now, and rejoined the fray. So we'll see exactly where he is in just a second or two. And with the, well, that's a bit of fun and games going on down there in the with the Renault guys.
You don't want them to be distracted from watching their monitors.
That's fun to see. So Button has come out in front of Maldonado, but is he in front of his teammate? Let's just see as this other group comes through. Di Resta's running in 8th place at the moment. We're looking at Hamilton. He's in 10th position there.
Yeah, Button's behind Perez.
Okay. So Button is one behind Perez. Yes, he's in 6th place. So Perez in 5th and Button in 6th place. But he's on a set of the super grippy soft tyre. Romain Grosjean's just gone fastest in the middle sector at the moment. Paul Di Resta with Hamilton right behind him here.
Well, we're getting a message that Kimi has been asked by his team, can you go to the end, Kimi? And his response was, I told you. Man, a few words.
Definitely, I can't imagine there'll be many now. Now, Di Resta and Hamilton had a great dice at Silverstone last time out, David. They both seem to quite enjoy it. It might be happening again because Hamilton's beginning to line the Force India up here.
Well, it's been Mercedes power against Mercedes power. DRS both activated. Paul gets it from Maldonado.
Maldonado's done well so far. He's hanging on in there in 7th position. Does have to make another pit stop, but he's done a long old stint on this set of tyres. So it's an impressive run from Maldonado, this. On board with Hamilton, and again, looks as though the Mercedes is sliding around a bit. So, oh, and a big slide for Di Resta. You can just see the grip going away for these guys, and they're just hanging on in there. At the back of the group is Hulkenberg. He's in 10th position. Rosberg has just been back into the pit, so Rosberg has now switched on to the soft tyre, and he will now be charging through. We're going to see a lot of changes in the closing part of this race. It could make it very, very exciting for all the different positions changing, and to see whether Raikkonen's going to be able to hold on up front.
Button, fastest man of all in the first sector with a new set of the soft tyres on. Fuel in the car now. Getting into, not quite vapour, but certainly getting a lot lighter.
Oh, and Kimi's come in. Kimi's come in. He's not going to make it to the end. So suddenly this turns into a race between Vettel and Grosjean, surely.
He'll be behind them both.
Yeah, but he will be on fresh tyres, and he's gone onto the soft tyre. Whoa,
interesting.
This is really interesting. And and Alonso's done the same thing. They've both gone onto the soft tyre. This is not what we expected, but really, really interesting now as they rejoin. Raikkonen comes back out in 3rd, Alonso back out in 4th, but he goes way too deep.
Well, it's interesting that Raikkonen felt that he wouldn't be able to make the last 10 laps on those tyres. Whether, well, we'll find out in time exactly. As we've got Hamilton here.
Down the inside of Di Resta. Yeah, he just squeezes past. And does he get Maldonado? No, Maldonado will stay in front of them. Of course, just to remind you, Alonso had to use those soft tyres then anyway. The interesting one is that Raikkonen, who has used them already, is doing it. Hamilton around the outside now of Maldonado. Can't make it happen.
No, and well, for the McLaren fans out there, Jenson Button, fastest man on the track. It'll be short-lived, I would have thought, by the time Raikkonen gets himself up to speed.
Yeah, on the soft tyres, Jenson Button has set fastest lap. He's in 6th place. He's closing on his teammate, Sergio Perez. So now we have Vettel leading this race. You're riding on board with him. Grosjean is just behind him, 1.2 seconds, not quite in DRS range. Then Raikkonen is only 2.6 seconds behind his teammate. So Raikkonen on the soft tyre, look, he's in the shot. He's not that far behind them. There is a real chance here for Kimi Raikkonen.
He'll be very fast now on these tyres. And we already know that his teammate, what did he get, 15 laps out of those tyres at the beginning of the race when the car was heavy?
remember, through practice, we saw these tyres, David, up to 1.5 seconds faster per lap than the medium compound tyre. Then here comes Hamilton now. He makes another move, and he up towards the chicane, getting Maldonado this time, and he's done it, and Maldonado just couldn't fight back. We are expecting Maldonado in. Yeah, there we are, straight into the pit lane now.
Well, you've got to imagine that Lotus will be asking Grosjean to get out of the way as we have Perez on Button.
No, Button on Perez. Yeah, and he's got the superior grip, and he just drives past him.
Yeah. Well, they're not fighting for the win, but inter-team battle is always nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Grosjean, when Raikkonen gets onto the back of him, which he will, given he's on a different tyre.
Oh, look at this. Just a quick note that Raikkonen's on a used set of soft tyres as opposed to Alonso, who still had a new set to use.
Yeah, Alonso's a lot quicker than Raikkonen.
So let's not forget Alonso in all of this.
No, because well, we know they're not able to make their tyres last as long though. So you know, Raikkonen doesn't have the peak of performance because of the scrub set, but the fact that they've been through a heat cycle will mean that they've slightly cured the rubber. And well, Raikkonen 4/10 quicker in the first sector than his teammate, another 2/10, so he'll take 6/10 at least out of Grosjean on this lap.
But we're not seeing the real jump in performance on the soft tyre from Raikkonen. We are from Alonso behind on the new soft, but the used soft tyre that Raikkonen's got here actually is not that much quicker than the medium tyre of his teammate just ahead. That surprises me, but maybe that's just the way the track has changed through the course of this race. So Vettel leads Grosjean. There's Raikkonen in third place, but it's Alonso behind them, who has just set fastest lap. He's 3.7 seconds behind. As we just see Maldonado. Let's just watch Maldonado's pit stop. Was this trouble-free?
Front right again. That was the same corner they had the problem with last time as well.
Oh, no. This opportunity for Williams to perhaps score points in their 600th Grand Prix is just evaporated in front of our eyes, I think. Can't see him really coming back from that. He has rejoined. He's down in 16th place. And sadly, there won't be any celebration of points here today for the Williams team. So Vettel getting into a bit of traffic now. So that's going to be interesting. He's still got Grosjean tight behind him. Well, I'll say tight behind him. He's out of DRS range. So Vettel there, Grosjean, but there's some traffic up ahead. The Caterhams and Marussias.
Okay, Kimi on the opposite side behind you is coming up very quickly. Do not hold him up.
Well, he was coming up very quickly, but I'm not sure he is that much now coming up so quickly. There goes Vettel to pass Max Chilton in the Marussia. Yeah, slots past him quite easily. And then we've got Grosjean, Raikkonen, and Raikkonen in that middle sector, not really taking anything out of his teammate.
No, he's taken half a second in the first sector, so he will be closer to Grosjean.
And now coming up behind Chilton. In the background, you just saw Alonso. Let's see what the gap between Raikkonen and Alonso is as they cross the line. From 3.7, it's gone to 3.2. Alonso's gained half a second there as Chilton goes wide out of the way of Romain Grosjean.
Well, not really.
Not enough?
not enough, considering you're being blue flagged and lapped effectively. Will he let Raikkonen through down into turn 3? Yes, he does.
And he'll have Alonso bearing down on him soon. Karen Pilbeam at Lotus nowadays, of course, was at Red Bull last year. But wondering whether this is going to work for them. Can they actually snatch the victory away from Sebastian Vettel, or is Vettel, for the first time in his career, going to win on home turf and win in Germany? Replay with Nico Hulkenberg here. Did he have an opportunity to overtake? Let's just have a look at this. Yes, he did.
His teammate Gutierrez.
Yeah, so getting past the other Sauber. He's not up in the points yet, though, Hulkenberg, after this stop onto the soft tyre. And this is on board Nico Rosberg, also on the soft tyre now, remember, and that was him getting past Adrian Sutil into 12th place.
Mark Webber, 0.3 of a second behind Paul di Resta. That's the battle for 8th place.
Yeah, so Webber does have a very real chance of certainly getting 8th, maybe even better. Going past one of the Caterhams for Vettel. Raikkonen a bit closer to the back of his teammate.
Tyres seem to be spent now. Raikkonen's lost. He's just matching his teammate. Certainly he'll be losing a little bit of performance in the turbulent air, but well, it wasn't new tyres, but soft tyre, clearly being scrubbed, is just not giving him that sort of performance peak that we're continuing to see from Alonso. 34.7 last time around. That compares to 35.1 for Raikkonen.
Yeah, another half-second gain by Alonso on that lap.
Good job, Sebastian. Be patient. The others will have to go through that as well. Next car, Van der Garde.
So go through that, he means the traffic, of course, and that's what Vettel has been dealing with, and now it's up to those who are chasing him. As Vettel gets past Van der Garde, both the Lotuses have got past the other Caterham of Charles Pic. Van der Garde leading his teammate in this one, and that will give him some bragging rights, there's no doubt about it. It looks as though Van der Garde is going to be the winner of the young teams competition down towards the rear of the grid. Maldonado, by the way, all the way down in 16th place after that pit stop that went wrong. Bottas, though, is up in the top 10 now. He's come up to 10th, has Valtteri Bottas, but I don't think, he's not made his final pit stop yet. So Bottas still has another pit stop to make here. So Webber has now got past Di Resta as the Lotus cars get past the Caterham there. And Webber now up into 8th position. He's behind Hamilton by some 6 seconds.
Okay, Mark, nice job. You can still catch Perez. Perez is doing mid-36s ahead of you. Perez is doing mid-36s. You can catch and pass him.
And Perez is running 6th. So that would certainly be a good recovery again. So Mark Webber, he seems to be the king of the recovery drives at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, it never seems to all come together. You know, his starts have been a little bit patchy at times. Makes a great start this afternoon, and then has a problem at the pit stop and the tyre not being fitted correctly. Safety car brought him back into play as Raikkonen, well, ever closer to Grosjean, but it does look now as if he's in diminishing returns on those different tyres.
Yeah, doesn't seem to have the sort of gain that he had earlier on, but he is pretty close to the back. He's certainly within DRS range if he can hang on in here. Two teammates, and of course let's remember that Raikkonen is better placed in the championship than Grosjean by quite a long way. So does the team swap them anyway?
Well, we already had that very clear message from his engineer.
Oh, this was Rosberg a moment ago, getting down the inside of Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo, we haven't seen a lot of him. Bottas was in the middle of all that as well. He's just come in though, Bottas. That was a replay of a moment ago. Bottas finally making his pit stop with just 5 laps to go. That really is quite late to switch onto the soft tyre.
Well, last time we were here, I think Vettel pitted on the last lap to pick up the soft tyre, which was not performing particularly well at that time.
Kimi is definitely within DRS range. And from Lotus's team point of view, with Kimi sitting 3rd in the championship, let's hear.
Okay, Roman, Kimi behind is on the option tyre. Do not hold him up.
And yeah, he's up the inside into the chicane, and Kimi Raikkonen goes past his teammate. So has he still got anything to throw at Sebastian Vettel, or is that simply trying to get the best they can in terms of points? It's still going to be a brilliant day for Lotus. They're looking at a double podium finish, although Alonso is still narrowing the gap. It's down to 1.4 seconds now. Ayu Komatsu, that is Romain Grosjean's engineer there. We've been hearing on the radio, but now he's going to be warning Grosjean that Alonso is definitely getting a bit closer. You can see the Ferrari.
Yeah, it's good recovery from Alonso. Looked to the beginning of the race, had a fairly quiet start to the afternoon, but taking that brave decision. He had a set of new soft tyres available, having decided to start on the different tyre in the last part of qualifying, and it's working well for Ferrari this afternoon.
So Lewis Hamilton on Sergio Perez here, and so he's taken 6th place. So we heard that Webber could be on target to get past Perez, but Hamilton going that much faster, so he's done it earlier than that. So Hamilton's going to score some points here today. Is he going to catch Button? That's the next question. Button is on for matching his best result of the season here today. He's currently in 5th position. So can the McLaren hang on in there for the final part of this race? But Hamilton will try and course and close the gap. There's Alonso getting a little closer to the back. Vettel versus Raikkonen, by the way. You can see Raikkonen is still catching Vettel very slightly, but he is running out of laps. I wonder if he can do anything. Fernando Alonso, so many podium finishes. He knows how to get on the podium, but David, looking at Ferrari's strategy, it doesn't seem to quite have worked out for them. This was Ricciardo and Hülkenberg a moment ago. They're battling for 11th, and yep, the Sauber went through.
Yeah, into 2.
Rosberg is in the final point scoring position at the moment. He's in 10th. Di Resta's in the points again. He's in 9th position. And on that last lap, Raikkonen definitely quicker.
took half a second out of the lead of Vettel, got down to 2.1 seconds. I think he's going to run out of laps, though.
Alonso much closer to the back of Grosjean as well. So Kimi Räikkönen, there's Grosjean, Fernando Alonso right behind him, who wants that podium finish. Still trying to keep the pressure on Vettel in the championship. Alonso is currently second in the points.
Number 310, Räikkönen's just taken out of Vettel in that first sector, so maybe there is enough time.
Maybe there is. Maybe the soft tyre, it's interesting, isn't it, how it seems to be holding up reasonably well for Kimi Räikkönen here, despite it not being a new tyre. Now, if they were to finish where they are right now, Vettel would still be leading the championship. Alonso would still be in second, but the gap would have opened up first to second. Räikkönen still in third. Hamilton would be fourth on 97 points. So it doesn't really change the order very much. That is the order. That was the order coming in. Just changes their tallies and changes the gaps a little bit between the different drivers. Hamilton 5 seconds behind Button in the fight for what is 5th place between two British drivers here in the closing stages of the German Grand Prix. Webber is in 8th place. He's 5 seconds behind Sergio Perez. Di Resta's on for points. So is Rosberg. Rosberg's only 2.4 seconds behind Paul Di Resta. Just outside the points at the moment, but on the quick tyres is Hulkenberg. Ricciardo's in 12th, Sutil is in 13th, Gutierrez still running 14th, Maldonado 15th, and Bottas is 16th.
Big Caterham, so I've got to get these guys out of the way.
And Button's clearly struggling to get through the traffic.
Yeah, he knows he's only got a 5-second lead to Hamilton, who's running, well, 1.5 seconds a lap faster. Should be okay though, Jensen. Hold that position. That's not a bad result for McLaren. They've been looking quite quick relative to recent performances. They were within 0.5 second of the fastest qualifier in Q2, which is a major improvement over some other races.
Yeah, both cars are in the points at the moment. Button 5th and Perez 7th, so that would be a real boost for the McLaren teams if they come home with those positions. Webber, though, will have ideas on changing that. And the gap between Räikkönen and Vettel, you know, he's almost within that DRS range. 1.3 seconds. Vettel's just keeping him off the DRS zone at the moment.
Doesn't look like there's going to be enough time unless Vettel makes a mistake somewhere.
Oh, it's got to mean so much to both these drivers. Neither of them having won in Germany, but particularly for Sebastian Vettel, home turf. Can he do it? Can he take victory here at the Nürburgring? Further extend his championship lead. But all he's thinking about is winning in Germany right now. And still, he's just keeping enough of a gap back to Räikkönen. 1.2 seconds. Round this time to complete lap 58. 2 laps to go then, and Kimi Räikkönen is not going to give up on this, but he's not quite close enough to get into the DRS zone. But Alonso, I think, yes, he is in the zone to try and have a go at getting past Romain Grosjean.
And Räikkönen at this current rate of closing the gap will be in the DRS zone in the last lap.
Wow. But will he actually be able to do anything with it? Look at Alonso, he is in the DRS zone of Grosjean now, but not able to do anything just yet. We've got a lapped car next up, because 5th, remember, is still Jenson Button, who was only 1.9 seconds ahead of Hamilton as they crossed the line. Hamilton going 2 seconds a lap faster than Jenson Button. I don't think there's any chance that Button's going to hold on to 5th, but he could still well finish in 6th place here.
Well, Grosjean, I should say, Räikkönen's just taken another couple of tenths off Vettel, so he'll be in DRS zone on the back straight if he can maintain this gap. He's at 1 second now behind the Red Bull.
What a race this is. 2 of the greats of Formula One pushing to the absolute limit in the closing stages of the German Grand Prix here, and still very little to choose between them. Vettel desperately trying to stay over 1 second ahead at the checkpoint. 1.046, 1.025 as they go past his checkpoint. You can see the graphic changing, but it needs to be under 1 second.
Okay, Lewis, 2 laps remaining, Jensen's really fallen off this tyre.
Yeah, and Hamilton is going to, I think he's going to have him this lap, don't you?
That's it. Well, the gap's down to under 2 seconds, so Button going to be very vulnerable for Hamilton.
On to the final lap, Sebastian Vettel. He's still got just over 1 second's advantage over Kimi Räikkönen in 2nd place. Romain Grosjean still under attack from Fernando Alonso. Keep an eye on the background as well. The slide there from Räikkönen.
And last lap, empty the tank, come on.
Come on, says Rocky, and Raikkonen is not giving up on chasing him down here. The gap as they crossed the line on our timing screen was 1.0, but it was 1.0 something, and here comes Hamilton on Button. Hamilton down the outside into turn one, the battle of the Brits.
Cut back.
No, he can't quite do it there, but he might try and go around the outside. Here comes Hamilton, round the outside of Jenson Button. And that has moved him into fifth.
That is a brilliant pass. He's leaving space for Jenson. That's gentleman racer for you. That's the second time today we've seen him give space.
The gap is in DRS range. You're right, David. You said it would be on the last lap, but surely Vettel has got just enough here. Kimi Raikkonen has got the gap down to under 1 second as they come through turn 11 for the final time here. Down the back straight, the DRS flap is open. But there is just too much distance to be made up, surely. Sebastian Vettel has driven a brilliant race here. Kimi Raikkonen charging in the last few moments. Can he do anything up to the last corner? I don't think it's likely. Sebastian Vettel through the final turn. And Sebastian Vettel wins in Germany. The first time he's won his home Grand Prix. He wins it for Red Bull. Raikkonen a brilliant second. Grosjean just holds on to third. In fact, Alonso dropped back on the last lap. Maybe he had a lunge at getting past the Frenchman on the last lap. Alonso finishes in fourth place. We know that Hamilton has taken fifth position on this last lap from Jenson Button, but we're just waiting to see how the other positions end up. Hamilton just crossing the line now in fifth. Button is sixth. And Webber and
it's in front of Perez, I believe. Webber's got him.
Right, so Webber is past Perez, and Webber is going to take seventh. He does. Oh, and Alonso stopped on this slowdown lap.
Yeah, it could be a fueling issue.
Yeah, well, he's getting out of the car, so whatever it is, he's going to have to walk back up to the pits. Just complete the top 10 for you. Rosberg finished in 9th place, and Hulkenberg, for the second race in succession, scores the final point in 10th. But Sebastian Vettel wins in Germany his 30th career victory.
You've won your home race. You've won the German Grand Prix. Well done, Sebastian. Great job.
Yeah, baby! Woohoo! Thank you, boys. That was a tough one. Oh man, they gave me a run for the money. Woohoo! Yes, and yes again.
Well, another victory to add to his tally. It's his fourth win of 2013. He has now led all bar one of the Grand Prix that we have had this year, and well, he's done it at home now, which is what really counts.
Just a thought, it must be interesting for these guys. They have to do all their celebrating in a foreign language. He should be really giving it ya.
His English is so good, it's so natural to him now, isn't it? But Mark Webber backing up that performance by finishing in 7th place for Red Bull. So again, despite the pit stop that went wrong, he recovered extremely well. Let's see what happened to Alonso here, David. Looks like he's been told to pull over.
Yeah. Slightly unusual. If it was just a pure fueling issue, you just roll round the corner. So whether there's something else in or not, we'll find out soon.
Indeed we will. But Sebastian Vettel, Romain Grosjean, great result for him as well. Finished in 3rd place, only his 2nd podium finish of the year. Backing up his teammate, of course, Kimi Raikkonen, a double podium finish for Lotus. And that's going to make it interesting as they try and close the gap back up to Ferrari and to Mercedes. Of course, Mercedes moved into 2nd place in the championship, the Constructors' Championship. Lotus had lost a bit of ground in recent races, but they really did give Vettel a run for his money, as Sebastian said over the radio. And Kimi Raikkonen, who's always had a slightly love-hate relationship with the Nürburgring, he's led here several times, only to miss out at the end of the race. He's had a lot of non-finishes here for a variety of reasons, but he finishes 2nd, and he goes over to congratulate Romain Grosjean. Makes sense there in the end for them to finish that way. Whether Grosjean could have held on to 2nd or not, difficult to say. Looking at Raikkonen's pace at the end, I think he would have struggled. Raikkonen was flying on those soft tyres.
Yeah, well, we're hearing that
mechanical non-finish last time out at Silverstone. But Sebastian Vettel comes back from the disappointment of Silverstone with victory here at the Nürburgring. What a reply, and of course it further extends his championship lead. The celebration time. Michael Schumacher won for the first time here in Nürburgring back in 1995, long time ago, but Michael was the first German driver to win on German soil, and of course went on to have a great deal of success in the German Grand Prix. And it's been a bit of a frustration, I'm sure, for Seb that it's taken him this long, but he's happy now.
The bull.
So many questions coming into the weekend. He's never won in July either, funnily enough, for some reason.
I always found July a slightly awkward month. You know, because it's the realization you've had the longest day. It's all downhill to winter.
That's what it is. Well, he's broken that one now. The result of the German Grand Prix then sees Sebastian Vettel win at home. Renault 1-2-3 because the two Lotuses were behind, powered by the same engine. Raikkonen second, Grosjean third. Alonso in fourth position ahead of Hamilton, who just beat his former teammate Jenson Button there towards the end. Webber recovered to seventh. Perez was eighth, so both McLarens in the top 10. Good result for them. Rosberg was ninth in the end. Hulkenberg 10th to claim the final point ahead of Di Resta and Ricciardo. Sutil in 13th, so neither of the Force Indias in the points this time, and that's first time for a long time. Gutierrez in 14th ahead of Maldonado and Bottas, sadly unable to score points. And Charles Pic did beat his teammate Guido van der Garde in the end. It was quite close, only a second between them. Max Chilton was the final finisher, and our non-finishers were Jean-Eric Vergne, Jules Bianchi and Felipe Massa. Well, the sun has shone here today. It's been a great crowd coming in from early hours, of course, this morning. But I wonder whether this will really re-engage the German public with a German racing driver, David, because in the days of Michael Schumacher, this place was a complete sellout. Let's listen, though.
Good friends, of course, Sebastian Vettel.
Lovely to see.
Raikkonen.
Yeah, there's, you just saw Sebastian's race engineer in the middle there as well. Sebastian Vettel, of course, on top of the driver's standings.
Finally. First time you win a German Grand Prix? Well, just the second last year.
Looks like his #1 mechanic, Joe, there's getting the honour of walking out there representing the mechanics on the podium ceremony.
Was very clear as well, just watching these images. He had to work for that one today, David. Quite often he comes out and it's all quite easy.
Yeah, that's his father there talking with Helmut Marko. He hasn't been in a lot of races this year. There was a season or so when he was coming to all of them, but the team awaits to cheer their man.
Yeah, and the track invaded, as we saw at Silverstone, which is a nice touch because they then get a big crowd in front of the podium, and hopefully we will be seeing that in just a moment. Helmut Marko, big smiles on his face once again, but it is time now for the podium presentation. Our top three, of course, Romain Grosjean, Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel, the race winner.
In second place, from Finland, driving for Lotus F1 team, also Kimi Raikkonen. And the winner, from Germany, driving for Infinity Red Bull Racing, Sebastian Vettel. And in his honour and that of Red Bull Racing, the German and Austrian national anthems.
It is some 7 years since a German driver, notably Michael Schumacher, won in Germany. And it's been a quiet time for the German fans, but now they can celebrate. Despite all his titles and all the success that he's had with the Red Bull team, there's nothing like increasing the interest at home by winning that home Grand Prix. And that's what they have achieved. Red Bull, though, had to fight for it this time. Lotus were on their case throughout the entire Grand Prix. And Kimi Räikkönen, as cool as ever, coming within a second of the race victory here today. Not quite the closest ever finish there's been here at the Nürburgring, but certainly one of them. And Romain Grosjean, a solid job there to score his second podium finish of the season.
Well done, gentlemen. And
so now they can actually get to work with the champagne. Something I'm sure that Sebastian Vettel has dreamt of for a long time, to be able to do this at the Nürburgring, David.
Incredible to win his home Grand Prix. An incredible record he has, having just turned 26 years old. He's a winning machine.
He is. He is indeed. So, with all the Red Bull team gathered down below, the photographers, of course, taking the pictures of these three drivers. Quick mention once again that Fernando Alonso finished just off the podium this time. We're used to seeing Fernando Alonso recovering from wherever he is to get onto the podium. But the strategy that Ferrari went for didn't actually work, or perhaps they just didn't ultimately have the race pace to make it work.
Yeah.
And now to interview the drivers on the podium, a veteran of over 350 Grand Prix, a popular TV pundit here in Germany, Kai Abel.
Hallo Nürburgring! Und jetzt zeigen wir den Jungs hier oben mal, wie die Eifel feiert, würde ich sagen. A very warm welcome at the Eiffel, this time at the Nürburgring. Really very warm. Congratulations, gentlemen. Starting with the winner, Sebastian Vettel. Would you please step down a little bit, get closer to the crowd? This is your applause, Sebastian. And now tell us and tell the world how sweet taste is this home victory.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Vielen Dank für die ganze Unterstützung das ganze Wochenende. Und endlich hat's geklappt. Ich bin überglücklich. I'm very happy. Unbelievable race. Kimi was pushing very hard in the end, and obviously they tried to do something different with different compound of tires. I think we had a very solid, very controlled race, but I was pushing, I think, every single lap except the laps behind the safety car. Very happy with the result, and incredible to finally win in Germany.
At the closing stages of the race, you felt the warm breath of this guy in your neck. So what do you think about driving with this guy next year together in one team?
Well, I don't know. I think first of all I enjoyed today, and I could feel him coming and more pressure, but obviously had a couple of laps where it was quite close with Romain as well, who tried to push very hard in the middle of the race. We lost Kurs for a couple of laps, so it was very difficult, but fortunately the system recovered, and it's very useful to defend properly. Very happy that the race ended after 60 laps and not 61 or 62.
Kimi, come down, join us, join the crowd. Many fans here in Germany as well. You can see the Finnish flags waving as well. But tell me one thing, I've seen it was very tough, and there were some problems in your radio. But was it even better for you that the radio had some problems and you couldn't understand the guys from the pit wall?
No, actually, I could hear them, but they couldn't hear me. I think it only worked in one part of the circuit, and unfortunately today there was quite a lot to discuss, and it didn't work. So not the ideal, but we managed to do pretty well, and obviously we want to win. But today we didn't have the speed. The race should have been a bit longer, maybe then we could have had a good chance. But I mean, we scored good points for two cars, and we are getting back where we should be. So in the end, not ideal, but pretty okay for us.
Next Lotus driver, third position, Romain Grosjean. Big round of applause for you. One more time, thank you, people. And Romain, tell me, how good is it being back on the podium, even if it's now the third position and not the second, if that could be?
Well, it's good. It's a good result for the team. We had a very strong race. It was good. Very good first stint. I thought I would have a chance at one stage on Seb, but the Red Bull was quick today. And then at the end, we choose different strategy with the team. I think that was the right things to do. Just put one car on one tires and the other one on the other one. And it appears that option from Kimi were quicker. So yeah, I think it was good to play a little bit the team. And then very happy to be back on the podium. I think we deserved it for a little while, but now it's reality.
Thank you, Romain. And at the end, we're going back to Sebastian in German, in your own language. Sebastian, deine Fans haben auch ein bisschen dazu beigetragen. Der erste Sieg am Nürburgring. Erzähl ihm mal, wie sehr sie dir geholfen haben heute.
Ja, ich habe natürlich die letzten paar Runden die Unterstützung gesehen auf den Tribünen, habe dann versucht, mich natürlich aufs Fahren zu konzentrieren. Obviously, I felt the push from the crowd.
Geht auch in Deutsch.
Ja, aber wollen auch mehrere Länder verstehen. So I felt the push from the crowd, and yeah, obviously I tried to focus the last couple of laps. You know, it will be very close with Kimi once he gets past Roman. So yeah, incredibly tough. I was pushing every single lap as hard as I could, and Lotus was incredibly quick today, looking after the tires. I think probably a little bit better than other people, but yeah, all in all, fantastic. Compliments to the team. 3 great stops we had, so very, very happy with the day.
Thank you very much. Dankeschön. The bilingual Sebastian.